It's been a long time. It's been a long time. Sorry for the wait, everybody. Family, I hope y'all doing well and swell this Friday night, March the 19th, 2021. This is Brother Ron. I'm sorry to keep y'all waiting. Thank you, Brother Ronaldo, for checking in on Brother Ron. Yeah, I just had to get myself together for you all. So I know I can give y'all at least 2 hours of excellent infotainment. I want to thank y'all for supporting the channel. This is We All Be, because we all be in it to win it. But it is a very interesting time to be alive. And it's like Joe Biden's becoming Gerald Ford 2.0. If y'all know about Gerald Ford, he became famous for falling down, for being very good at falling down while president. And I think Joe Biden got the triple crown on that, but you got to have a sense of humor right now. It's crazy out here in these streets, and y'all take good care of yourselves. Keep your mind stimulated. Keep stimulated in your mind, and the rest will follow. So welcome to We All Be. Thank you all for tuning in. Let me do some little house cleaning. Here it goes. Let me see. Read a disclaimer. The views expressed by hosts and guests on the We All Be TV platform are not the official views, opinions, beliefs, or perspectives of We All Be News or the We All Be Group Incorporated. We All Be News is an organization that thoroughly believes in supplementing the information narrative that is usually supplied by the corporate news entities with those viewpoints and expressions which may be marginalized or ignored for a plethora of reasons. We are about informing the general public on alternative perspectives as it relates to news and information, and letting the general public be the ultimate judge in deciding on how to use said information. Informed citizens are responsible citizens, and thank you for your support. And let me make sure I got everything working. Y'all can hear me well and swell out here. Let me check everything.
Meet your next pillow.
Okay, let me check it all. See, everything working right. Everything.
Meet your next pillow.
Yeah, it's like it's working right. I always try to make sure. I'm always like paranoid about this stuff, doing things in live time, and I had my little up and down experiences with the things. And thank you, Brother Ronaldo, for giving me a reminder that the marathon continues. We love you madly. Thank you for the donations. I want to thank everybody for sending in donations over the last several days. They have came in very handy to take care of some things that were very unexpected. So I thank y'all for thinking about me. Yeah, it means a lot, when people check in. I don't just check in, sending email, text messages, phone calls. I know my voice message is full. I'm gonna have to do some spring cleaning of the voice message thing I got on my phone over this weekend. But there is so much to take in and talk about. And my thing is there's like the Ides of March. I know, beware of the Ides of March. The Ides of March is like Friday the 13th over multiple days. If you believe in the so-called number 13 being bad luck, and I don't believe that number 13 is being bad luck, it's all a game. And y'all should look up the history of the number 13. It's very fascinating, but there's a lot of anniversaries, going on right now. We just had, we talk about anti-Asian racism stuff, but what happened 30 years ago on March the 16th of 91 was the murder of Latasha Harlins by a Korean American, right? She was shot in the back of the head, and she the latest got 5 years probation. Her last name was D.U. I think that's how you pronounce her name. She only got 5 years probation, only had to pay a $500 fine, and I think cover funeral expenses. But during the Rodney King riots, which really was the Latasha Harlins riots, that's one of the main reasons why they were angry as well. That store was burnt down, and I think Ice Cube did a song called Black Korea on his death certificate. One of the classic albums. He's in my top 5. Ice Cube. Has Ice Cube ever won a Grammy? I don't know. So, what is a Grammy? But anyway, also speaking of rappers and hip hop and Latasha Harlins, this is why I love Tupac. This is one of the reasons why I love Tupac, because he made sure that he immortalized that young girl's name, because she was just 15 years young, right? She was born, I believe, January the 1st, what was 1976? Yeah, January 1st, 1976 in East St. Louis, Illinois. But he made sure that she was remembered for posterity because he did several songs name dropping Latasha Harlins. And these not just the crappy songs, these are some very good songs that Tupac put her name in there. You can't name no other rapper that did that for Latasha Harlins. Tupac did that. So he made sure that she lived on as a folk hero or Shiru, or there's somebody that's never should be forgotten about. And that's why Tupac is the GOAT to me, because I'll listen to some OG Me Against the World unreleased tracks, the original tracks and stuff. And man, Tupac is so powerful. I put Tupac in the same class as a Marvin Gaye and Curtis Mayfield and even Sam Cooke because of the messages in his songs. I mean, I ain't saying all the songs had messages, but he had some amazing anthems like Keep Your Head Up, Brenda's Got a Baby. You think, I mean, even like, you go, How Do You Want It? I mean, California Love, but So Many Tears, Dear Mama. This man never won a Grammy. Be Against the World, the commercial release. I mean, he was the first artist in the history of the music industry in America to have a #1 album on the billboards while incarcerated. He was the first person to do that. And like I said, Me Against the World is a great album. It's a great album, the one that came out commercially, but also the OG unreleased, original mixes are great too. And it's like when I found about the Notorious B.I.G., right? Like I didn't know he was a big fan of country music. A lot of our great musicians on whatever genre are fans of country music, because country music, once again, is black music. Y'all keep on thinking that you white folks got y'all Jedi mind trick about who created what. We taught them everything they know, including warfare. But that's another show for another time. But Tupac, he listened to stuff, but you could tell it's very lyrical, very memorable anthems, but he never won a Grammy. So I guess, did that mean that he's not good enough? I mean, come on, let's stop it. But Latasha Harlins, and especially what's going on right now, so-called anti-Asian racism, Joe Biden trying to pass this bill, man, it doesn't look good for black people. Because no matter what happens in the country, we get all the blame. No matter what happens, we get all the blame and none of the sympathy. There's no sympathy. That's why I knew that Kirk Franklin's son, even if he had a real grievance with his father, will fall on deaf ears, because nobody feels sorry for black males. People have been programmed not to feel sorry for black males. Because even if you're a boy as a black male, you still consider a man. Like Tamir Rice was killed. He was just 12 years old playing with a toy gun. What that cop do? Jump out the car, didn't even announce himself, just jump out the car and shot the boy. So even the young man, he's not a young man, he was 12. And where's the rites of passage for young black males to become men? And that's the community. We got to be more accountable and responsible. This is why I'm talking about what I'm talking about right now. The subject is about Lloyd Gaines, March 19th, 1939. Brother named Lloyd Gaines, tall, dark, handsome, and brilliant, walked out the frat house on the south side of Chicago into history. Nobody know what the hell happened to Lloyd Gaines. Lloyd Gaines was a pioneer. He was a pioneer. But before I get into that, do some corrections. I said, like I said in the last video, I want to thank y'all who really loved the last video. A lot of time I begin into my little freestyle. I don't always plan things out. Things kind of pop up. Like I said, the righteous ancestors told me if I take care of them, they'll take care of me. So I just get out of me. I feel like I'm like Whoopi Goldberg and Ghost, and these ancestors be contacting me, tell my story, Brother Ron. Sometimes it affects my mood and my state of mind. Just like today, I mean, man, I said I feel kind of off, a little bit awful. Maybe I'm going to my mini midlife crisis. Come to find out, a voice said, "Ron, look up Lloyd Gaines." Look up Lloyd Gaines. Guess what? Oh, he disappeared today. I didn't say he died or got killed. He disappeared off the face of the planet while he was fighting for integration in education for black people. See, this is like 15 years before Brown v. Board. This is before Montgomery bus boycotts and so-called, modern day civil rights movement. This brother, 28-year-old black man from Mississippi, but was raised in St. Louis. You could find him, or you could have found him in St. Louis. Took on the miseducation system in Missouri, in the state of Missouri. I'm talking about Mizzou law school, for the right to go there as a law student. And his lawyer, one of his lawyers was Charles Hamilton Houston, who was the dean of the law school at Howard University. Also, he was the Jegna of Thurgood Marshall. So this was his lead lawyer. You know, he got the NAACP to represent them in this case to try to integrate Mizzou. We got University of Missouri Law School in Columbia, Missouri. He won a Supreme Court decision on December 12th, 1939. He won a Supreme Court decision that said that, hey, y'all, if the state of Missouri won't allow him to go to their law school, the Mizzou Law School, they will have to create an equal law school for black people. Go back to that Plessy v. Ferguson, separate but equal, right? But if you cannot create an equal law school that's comparable to Mizzou's, you got to let that boy in, or let that man in. Excuse me, let the man in, because he was a man. And so that was very decisive, considering that on the Supreme Court, you had a guy named Hugo Black, who was a senator from Alabama, with a banjo on his knee, with a Negro in a tree. No, I'm joking. But he was a Klansman. Hugo Black at one point was a prominent Klansman, and he became a U.S. Supreme Court justice. And in his own way, he disavowed the Klan. He apologized in his own way for his affiliation with the Klan. Because people got to understand, the Ku Klux Klan was very powerful during the 1920s. You know, the Klan had membership at its peak of about 4 million people. So the Klan was seen as a very powerful political lobby, as well as a terrorist organization, but as a political organization. Because you had states like Indiana, they had the governor, mayors, sheriffs, everybody was clanned up. You know, so he not only did he rule in favor for Lloyd Gaines in this case, but also he was a very prominent voice in the decision for Brown v. Board 15 years later. So you had Lloyd Gaines got that powerful case with the Supreme Court victory. That's December 12th. I said 1939. I mean December 12th, 1938. But a couple months later, he disappeared. March 19th, 1939. That was 82 years ago. He disappeared off the face of the planet. None of his family, from my understanding, ever heard from him. And he was born in 1911, but I don't think they ever declared him dead officially. But he would be, if you're born 1911, he'll be what, almost 109 years old? He'll be 109. He would have been 110 years old. So I'm assuming that he's dead. But we'll get into all that in this show. And I would urge y'all, because I'm not the oracle, right? If you are interested in any of the things I'm saying in the show, you should do your own research into it and spread it among your networks. But I just want to do it on his anniversary. Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, her birthday was yesterday, March the 18th. So there's a lot going on, and I think I may do a tribute show maybe this weekend. I don't know yet, but I interviewed Dr. Frances Cress Welsing back in 2011. Great interview. I awarded her a We All Be Lifetime Achievement Award for her excellence in using her genius and creativity to serve humanity. And she wrote me a personal letter of thank you, and she sent me her code. You know, people always tell me to stay on code. She sent me the code, her code that she created. And people that say they are disciples of Frances Cress Welsing, if you look at what she said in her code, a lot of people are off code. And we'll talk about that in the show about the so-called code. Because people always tell me stay on code. I said, there's no code. There's no uniformity code. There's no code for the black groups. I mean, as individuals, you should have your own moral compass. But as far as a group, we don't have no code. We're very off code if we got a code. Because we had a code, we wouldn't be catching hell right now. If we actually had a code, we would not be catching hell right now. So with that said, let me make some verification. Like I said, house clean. I read my disclaimer, but last show, found out afterwards, I mispronounced some names. I want to clarify that. The brother that was accused of killing all them folks at that restaurant down in New Orleans back in March the 4th. March is a very interesting month. I know Tariq Nasheed always talking about April being a white supremacist month. Now I'm looking at March. I mean, maybe this is the white supremacist month. For real. But Antoinette Frank, the New Orleans officer, and her boyfriend allegedly massacred all them people at that restaurant, I kept on calling the man Lucchese. So, you know, like these names, especially you get down Louisiana, the way they spell some names ain't always how you pronounce the names. You know, like we know Counselor, shout out to Gavin Richard. You know, Gavin Richard, the Counselor, Esquire, G Boot 2786. Now you look at his name, if you know, anywhere but I guess Louisiana, France, it's pronounced Richard. It looks like it's Richard, right? But he called it's Richard. Okay. So I looked at the guy Roger Lacasse, but I call him Lucchese, but they call it Lacasse. I've been listening to people saying his name. They call him Rogers Lacasse, but to me like Lucchese. So I guess I'm just crazy, but it is interesting how you can mispronounce names. Like even Jackie Kennedy's ancestor, the pirate who helped create this dynasty that produced the Vanderbilts and the Whitneys. He was a pirate. See, they want to play like he was just an admiral. Now he was a pirate who had sex with a hooker or a concubine, whatever you want to call it. See, how they play games with the name. But I think I call him John Johnson, but it's Jan Janssen because he's Dutch, right? Jan Janssen, Van Salie, the Van Salie people. So that's why I'm not the oracle. I'm just a person. I get things wrong, but now I get you in the neighborhood. So it's not necessarily I got it wrong. Just some mispronunciations and stuff like that. Not bad for a guy who had to do speech therapy growing up. You know, had some speech impediment issues. So it is what it is. But I want to make sure I clarify, because even if I get the name mispronounced, people say, oh man, I can't trust Brother Ron because he didn't pronounce the name correctly. I said, okay, whatever. But at least I did a correction the next show. Cause I was looking at somebody's show who's a well-respected journalist. Now he's well-respected. I'm not gonna say his name, but he's from America. He's from California, but this dude kept on calling Arkansas, Arkansas. And people said, no, you don't say it like that. You said like that in the chat. You like, oh man, you people are hilarious. And this guy has been around the world, very respected investigative journalist, right? And he kept on saying Arkansas. But it didn't discredit what he was talking about in terms of information. He knew his stuff, but he just call it Arkansas, Arkansas. But it's like, if you look at like Roosevelt, some people say Roosevelt, some people say Roosevelt, tomatoes, but Lucchese kind of really off. It's Lacasse. So Rogers Lacasse. And it was interesting about that case. Now I'm finding new information about that case I didn't know about. Like the fact he's no longer on death row. He did not get a fair trial. He was denied due process. And what is interesting, people are claiming that Antoinette Frank's brother actually killed those people at the restaurant along with her, and that she was protecting her brother. And her brother is they like, no, they don't look the same. And I'm gonna tell y'all this too. Contrary to popular belief, eyewitness testimony can be very unreliable. Let me say that again. Eyewitness testimony can be very unreliable, because you got to think about, adrenaline, trauma. You don't know what you're really saying. And then the way you get from the incident or the event, you kind of reconfigure the narrative in your mind. It's like something may have happened to you 10 years ago. You have a different take on it now, 10 years later. I'm not saying it took them long, but I'm saying, man, the mind is it's very tricky dealing with human psychology as relates to trauma. So allegedly, they never found the murder weapon that he supposed to have. Now they said that he used one of the dead people credit cards at a gas station. But from my understanding, there was no gun residue on his person. He didn't have no gun residue on his hands, allegedly. Had no blood splatters, nothing like that, or DNA other than himself on him. So I saw, shout out to Sister Tamara Thompson. She's a private investigator and also a talk show host in the spirit of Ida Wells out of Memphis. She did an interview with Rogers Lacasse mom, and also an activist and media personality from New Orleans named Wes Johnson. I'm going to try to reach out to them to see if they want to do the show, because they was actually pushing to try to exonerate Rogers Lacasse, right? Lacasse, whatever, Lacasse. I'm going to say Lacasse, Rogers Lacasse. They're trying to exonerate him, but they was able to get him off of death row because there's a lot of corruptness in New Orleans. There's a lot of corruptness in New Orleans that got exposed during Katrina. like the Denzizer Bridge thing, and also they killed their brother. The cops killed their brother and burned him up in the car. You look at the TV show Treme, they came out, and it was a great show about New Orleans post Katrina. It talks about those cases in the show because the people I believe who created The Wire also created Treme. So it talks about the dynamics of police corruption, all that stuff in the show. So I mean, New Orleans was very exposed during Katrina. Only thing missing, we didn't have social media, so we don't really know how bad it really was, because it's still people missing. See what I'm saying? We don't have any type of black media. That's why we need a black media. That's B1. I'm talking about real. I ain't talking about all about gossipy stuff. I'm talking about having some type of follow-up and making these authorities accountable. What happened to the people after Katrina? We just Mardi Gras it up every year and going along as business as usual. It's kind of like what Tamir Rice's mom was saying. The world goes on. Nobody pause. I mean, people pause and then they just go on living their life and, buying stuff. And, it is interesting how we do as black people. And so this is why it's important to have a show to talk about this type of stuff and to talk about Lloyd Gaines and to connect it to today. Because Lloyd Gaines felt he was disrespected by the Black Lives Matter movement of his time, which was the NAACP. Lloyd Gaines felt like he was being exploited by these people. Lloyd Gaines, he owed a lot of people money. And I'm gonna talk about that. We're gonna break it down a little bit. But thank y'all for having trust, spending your time. Y'all can, this is the Friday. Y'all could be anywhere. Y'all chose to spend it with Brother Ron, and we all be. So we're gonna talk about Brother Lloyd Gaines, honor the ancestors. They told me if I talk about them, they'll take care of me. I don't know. We'll see. Bucket, bouquet. What's that? Yeah, well, it's interesting. But yeah, pronunciation. Cause I mean, it's hard, man. Like, you look at a word, like I say, I look at one word. If you were talking to French, if you say it in the French way, it's a different way they say stuff. Because certain things be silent. Yeah, man, our people are cool, man. I mean, shout out to South Carolina because our people got our own language anyway, and people want to disrespect that. That's why we so creative. You in South Carolina. My people are from South Carolina. You know about the Gullah Geechee and all that stuff, man. We got our own flavor. Even you go down to Louisiana, man. It's places I be going down south. I'm in Memphis, right? I gotta. You say, oh, you sound country. What people? It's folks I can't even understand, but then I can understand. It's funny because I remember they were talking about Bernie Mac in one of these documentaries, and they were saying like one of the reasons why Hollywood was so apprehensive about really giving Bernie Mac a star vehicle is because they said, well, white folks can't understand him, and I can understand Bernie Mac. He's from the South Side, probably he got them country roots. I understand him fine. There's always excuses. Oh, we can't understand Bernie Mac, but yet Bernie Mac was very successful. Even you look at the Bernie Mac show, I mean, to me, he ain't have to explain nothing. He just be, I'm Bernie Mac. I ain't scared of you. Kick it. I'm Bernie Mac. Bernie Mac. I can understand with Bernie because I remember when the Kings of Comedy came out 20-something years ago. I can't believe it, 20-something years ago when Spike Lee did the Kings of Comedy movie. Bernie Mac was the funniest guy on the stage. That's why he was the closer. I believe they said they had Steve Harvey as the closer originally, but they moved him. He's hosting. They said Steve was kind of envious of Bernie. Bernie just had the it. I'm Money Mac. I'm Money Mac. Kick it. But I can understand him fine. That's the same thing people said about Jesse Jackson. That mainstream America could understand. Jesse was brilliant in his prime. Jesse was a very effective communicator. Jesse was no slouch, and he's from South Carolina, right? Is Jesse Jackson from South Carolina? But I'm saying it's interesting. Well, Katrina was about gentrification, man. They want to get rid of black people, and they wanted black people property and assets. And it's always been the case, man. It's just genocide by another name. When you look at gentrification, just genocide by another name, because you moving people out of the city they've never been out of, let alone the state, and you moving them to Utah and Oregon and stuff with no means of coming back. So black folks, man, we always been disrespected, man. I'm just tired of people wanting black people to feel sorry for everybody, but nobody feels sorry for us. I remember when Kerry Washington won an award from the GLAAD, the gay organization GLAAD, the GLAAD Awards. It's about several years ago. She won the award, Kerry Washington, the lady who played the lead in Scandal, that Kerry Washington, the Negro bed wench character in the show Scandal, right? She played the Negro bed wench to President Fitz. She didn't want to be a black man's wife who was a senator. She wanted to be a concubine to the president. She had the spirit of Sally Hemings. But yeah, she won this award from GLAAD. And she got up there bashing black people. As much as y'all hate Bill Cosby, a lot of y'all hate Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby did a lot of things to uplift black people and to support so-called black institutions. Bill Cosby did a lot of things in terms of educating about black history. We got to be fair and balanced, man. You just can't, he did the pound cake speech. What she did to me was worse than the pound cake speech. What she said, y'all can find this online. I don't know what year it was several years ago. She got there throwing black folks under the bus like we the most homophobic people on the planet, which is a lie. We are not the most homophobic people on the planet. Shit, we black folks be the man. Everybody come to black people when nobody else accepts them. When you become the dispossessed and and you get disowned by your family, who they come? They come to black people. Child, we're gonna take you in. Mama Riri gonna take care of you, child. You gonna be okay. You gonna be okay. Don't got no sympathy for Kurt Franklin's son. but a crackhead, a white crackhead come, that's crystal meth. Don't worry about that, child. We're gonna get you some chicken and you could come sing in our choir. Taking everybody but our own. Black folks screwed up, man. So I'm not gonna go too hard on a lot of people, but it is interesting to note that nobody said nothing about Kerry Washington's speech. Y'all, it's probably on YouTube, man, but she did a GLAAD speech. She just threw black people on the bus, man. I'm like, really? And then, was crazy. All these black, I ain't gonna say all, but a lot of these black gay people, like Billy Porter, they won't talk bad about black people, Lee Daniels, but yeah, y'all ain't saying nothing about Ed Buck, the Democrat dude that's going around that was killing. Basically, he's a serial killer. He probably killed a whole bunch of gay black males. He might be the Ted Bundy of gay serial. I mean, it's weird. Nobody ain't saying nothing about Ed Buck. He gave all this money to all these powerful Democrats, right? Powerful Democratic donor up there killing black men up in West Hollywood. Ain't nobody said a mumbling word. NACP, Benny Thompson, they worry about Trump. Ain't nobody said nothing about no Ed Buck. It is weird. Billy Porter up there throwing black. I'm tired of these people throwing our people under the bus. Forget you. Be gone. We don't need you. You dead weight. But the people that fight for us, we forget about them. This is why we got to talk about Lloyd Gaines. I know I'm going to get to talking about Lloyd Gaines. I am. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in. All y'all just been really supportive. But let's focus on Lloyd Gaines. I promise I won't keep y'all too long. Yeah, maybe a good 90 more minutes. Then everything else is overtime. That's just bonus material. That's like, if y'all want me to go, we can go to 3 hours, but let's try to keep it to 2. But let me show you this picture of this man. And y'all make sure you make this brother a household name, and y'all let y'all kids know. Because we don't teach our kids about this system, man. We let our kids be prey for the enemy. Like, you come out, you worry about this and that, but you don't protect your kids' minds. We don't protect our kids' minds. We don't instill in them a sense of pride and roots. We got to start that from day one, or before they get out the womb, exposing our children to our culture. Make sure they understand things from our perspective. Make sure they can stand on their 2 feet in this world, knowing who they are and where they come from and what they can really do. Because this is who we are. We are the alchemists of the universe. We are the universe soul people. We are chosen people. I'm talking about black people. I ain't talking about no people of color. I ain't talking about none of it. I'm talking about black. Because ain't nothing wrong with black. Y'all think it's so negative. You let them define, because gay didn't mean gay. Gay, as it's talk about now, didn't mean that 150 years ago. Okay? So who say that gay means this now? Who say that the rainbow means that now? Fred Hampton had the Rainbow Coalition. You think he was talking about LGBTQIA? No, he was not. And if they had made that movie and try to act like that what it was, and y'all fall for that okie doke. You remember the Confessions of Nat Turner, right? They said Nat Turner did a confession. This white lawyer allegedly took the confession of Nat Turner before they killed him. So we had a book that been out for 100-some years called The Confessions of Nat Turner. Then James Baldwin's boyfriend or lover or whatever you want to call him, the Thomas Styron, whatever his name, y'all look him up. He wrote a book about 50-some years ago called The Confessions of Nat Turner. So you got one that's based on Nat Turner, who supposed to be, in his own words, written by a white lawyer. You know, you can't trust him. But they also got another title that came out called The Confessions of Nat Turner, right? Written by this homosexual white man who was real close to James Baldwin. James Baldwin encouraged him to write the book. So y'all can look that up, you know, and I like James Baldwin, but you know, it is what it is. But so when you was a black person in the 60s, you on that black power consciousness stuff, you go to the bookstore, depending on what bookstore you go to, you say, hey, let me get the Confessions of Nat Turner. They can either give you the original one or the one that just came out, because the original one was way different from the one that just came out at that time. Because in the second version, they have Nat Turner as being homosexual, or he like bisexual, and he just had a craving for white meat, white women, and he was gay. So that's the second version of Nat Turner. So if you was like, oh, I'm on Black Power, right on, and you read this book, like, damn, I'm confused. Nat Turner was queer. You see how it works? You know what I'm saying? So be careful what you tend to feed your mind. What you tend to feed your mind. So this is why we got to talk about this. You know, and you still got black folks hanging from trees in Mississippi, hanging in a jail cell. They calling it suicide. That's still going on in Mississippi. And Benny Thompson talking about some Donald Trump when his man can't walk up them damn steps to Air Force One. That was, I mean, they let you know, man, something ain't right. Something is very rotten in Denmark. Yeah, I mean, I got gay people. All black people, gay choir director. Come on, man. How would music look like without gay black people? Come on, man. Let's stop it with the BS. But my thing is, it's like when people talk about Dr. King and stuff. I mean, how do you trust the FBI about what they say about your people, man? The FBI main one, you know, don't you know back in the 60s, the FBI had people in the Klan killing people, man. They had people in the Klan killing civil rights activists. You know, that white girl from Detroit, the white lady, with Viola Liuzzo, she was killed. She was helping transport them people after the Selma March from Selma to Montgomery. She came down there, Italian American, to try to transport, you know, black folks, you know, back to, you know, their destination. And she was riding in the car, or she was driving, and, you know, she had a black man in her car, and the Klan shot up the car, but they had informants from the FBI or FBI, whatever you want to call it. They were FBI was in the car with the Klan when they shot up that car with Mrs. Liuzzo and the black man. The black man had to play dead. And nobody ever went to prison for what they did to Liuzzo. And she was a white woman or Italian, whatever you want to think. Some people think Italians ain't black. I mean, ain't white, excuse me. She still was classed as a white woman, right? The FBI was in the car. You can look all this stuff up. So it's interesting, like, oh, I trust the FBI. No, there's no FBI with nothing about Dr. King, man. You already know what type of character or lack of character Jacob Hoover had. You gonna say, well, you know, the FBI said it must be true. Nah, it don't mean it's true. I know one thing: every time our people get killed, the FBI is there. And they said the FBI was there when the Notorious B.I.G. got shot. So I'm definitely looking forward to looking at that movie City of Lies with Johnny Depp playing the late Russell Poole, who was a Boy Scout of a cop. I ain't talking about the way of the nefarious Boy Scout, but I'm talking about he was an honest broker. It's saying he really believed in honoring and protecting and serving, and it cost him his life. Because y'all forget that Russell Poole died with his peers. We don't know what happened to Russell Poole. They say he had a heart attack or something, but he was there with other law enforcement officers. And he died, so they really know what happened to Russell Poole. And I believe, I'm not sure, But I believe that Reggie Wright Jr. was there as well too. You know, in Reggie Wright Jr., you know, he connected to Tupac stuff and Suge, and yeah, I don't know. It's just very filthy. And we're coming upon the anniversary of Nipsey Hussle on March 31st. And he was supposed to meet with the LAPD top brass the day before, the day after his assassination. Thank you, brother Ladarius. You from Jackson, Mississippi, and it's a lot of us disappearing. Oh yeah, man. What happened to the brother that got his head chopped out a couple years ago? Nobody ever found out about what happened to that brother who got his head cut off? They keep on stealing Deion Sanders stuff down there in Jackson. Y'all trying to run Deion Sanders away? Y'all trying to run prime time out of Jackson? But one thing about prime time, he always get his stuff back. So I don't know. He got this street cred. It's like, you know, but you know, ain't really no black people hanging. I heard they found a black person hanging down in Georgia. You know, they talk about them 8 folks got killed. I mean, every time ain't always the dude that killed them 8 people. God rest their souls. He said it was about something else. But yet somehow they're trying to blame black people for that. And black folks got to stop taking that okie doke. But anyway, I'm getting all on tangents and stuff. My bad. People say, well, what about Lloyd Gaines? I'm just, let's talk about Lloyd Gaines. Oh, thank y'all for being patient. Bring up our brother Lloyd Gaines. Give him his due. I think this is it. That's our brother Lloyd Gaines. That's a handsome guy, right? Tall, dark, and handsome. Brilliant brother who never had a chance. 28 years young when he disappeared from on the south side of Chicago, March 19th, 1939. Good brother from Mississippi, brilliant guy. It's ongoing because they don't care. They don't care. They never cared about solving the case. That's why the family was afraid to go to the authorities. You got to think about it. Y'all talking about Black Lives Matter. Black lives did not matter back in 1939. And then, you know, you from the South and you used to dealing with racial terrorism, especially from the police. Because people don't understand that the Klan, not just the Klan, they law enforcement. Like you go back to the 1960s and 50s and stuff. The people that were in the Klan were law enforcement, with sheriffs and sheriff deputies and state troopers and stuff. If you look at Mississippi, man, their whole government was all about supporting and endorsing white terrorism. You think about the Mississippi Sovereignty Commission, the White Citizens Council, which I believe is headquartered in St. Louis or was headquartered in St. Louis, where this native of Mississippi, the son of Mississippi, Lloyd Gaines, went to high school, Vashon High School, legendary high school in St. Louis, along with Sumner High School, produced some remarkable black people. And he went there. But yeah, law enforcement always been compromised and always been part of the Klan. So you even think about the first law enforcement officers or officials was slave patrol, some of the first in this country. So it's always been based upon exploiting and terrorizing black people. I ain't gonna say no people of color. I'm tired of that bull crap. People of color, like everybody's catching hell equally. No, black people's catching the most hell. So it's black people. Okay, ain't no people of color. Stop it with that mess. And maybe if he was a person of color, he might have been alive for a long time. We're gonna talk about this Lloyd Gaines thing. It fascinates me. It is very fascinating. Let me get myself off the screen. Let me get myself off the screen. All eyes on him. It's an honor to tell their stories, man. These are our people, man. I want our people to be educated, you know. I appreciate y'all. I mean, I know I could be off tangent, man. I don't know, man. Sometimes I be having dreams of getting this done in an hour. I kind of envy folks who know how to talk in a succinctly, and get to the core of things. But I be trying to just put all this stuff in, like I'm overstuffing this sandwich or something. I don't know. Like if I make y'all pizza and y'all give y'all stuffed crust, I be giving everything in the stuffed crust with cheese and extra bacon and pepperoni and sausage and stuff in the stuffed crust. That's how I be doing this stuff. Yeah, we got to stop that. We got to take a stand on that person of color crap, or even that BIPOC. Like we all just been getting discriminated equally. That's not true. You know, Joe Biden up here passing crime bills and anti-Asian hate bills, and you know he's targeting black people. We the lowest hanging fruit. We should be a protected class of citizens like Jewish people and gay people. Black folks should be protected like Jewish people and gay people. You talk bad about black folks, it's not considered hate crime. It's called entertainment. You say one thing that's true about Jewish or gay people, oh, that's a hate crime. You got to go. Or that's like, you know, violate community guidelines. I was like, what? What? But we want to talk about Lloyd Gaines and see how he was violated, right? Lloyd Lionel Gaines, born 1911, disappeared March 19th, 1939, was the plaintiff in Gaines v. Canada, one of the most important early court cases in the 20th century U.S. civil rights movement. After being denied admission to the University of Missouri School of Law because he was African American and refusing the university's offer to pay for him to attend a neighboring state's law school that had no racial restriction, Gaines filed suit. The U.S. Supreme Court ultimately ruled in his favor, holding that the separate but equal doctrine required that Missouri either admit him or set up a separate law school for black students. The Missouri General Assembly chose the latter option. It authorized conversion of a former cosmetology school in St. Louis to establish the Lincoln University School of Law. Now, Lincoln University, that's his alma mater. He went there. That's headquartered in, I think, Columbia. Is that the state capital of Missouri? Columbia, Missouri. I like to call it Missouri. Like I said, the pronunciation stuff, but state of Missouri. But he actually went to Lincoln University. But they had the law school in St. Louis. And like that's how they do us. You know, a former beauty shop turned into a law school only for black people, right? So I can say, like, okay, it authorized conversion of a former cosmetology school in St. Louis to establish the Lincoln University School of Law, to which other, mostly black students were admitted. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, which had supported Gaines' suit, planned to file another one challenging the adequacy of the new law school. While waiting for classes to begin, Gaines traveled between St. Louis, Kansas City, and Chicago looking for work. He worked odd jobs and gave speeches before the local NAACP chapters. One night in Chicago, he left a fraternity house. He was an Alpha Phi Alpha. He was an alpha man, where he was staying to buy stamps and never returned. He was never seen again by anyone who knew or recognized him and reported doing so. Man, it's disappeared, man, like Amelia Earhart, just off the face of the planet. What happened? Gaines' disappearance was not noted immediately, since he frequently traveled independently and alone without telling anyone his plans. Only in late 1939, when the NAACP's lawyers were unable to locate him to take depositions for a rehearing in state court, did a serious search begin. It failed, and the suit was dismissed. While most of his family believed at the time that he had been killed in retaliation for his legal victory, there has been speculation that Gaines had tired of his role in the movement and gone elsewhere, either New York or Mexico City, to start a new life. In 2007, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, agreed to look into the case, among many other missing persons cold cases related to the civil rights era. His unknown fate notwithstanding, Gaines has been honored by the University of Missouri School of Law and the state, the Black Culture Center at the University of Missouri, and a scholarship at its law school are named for him and another black student initially denied admission. In 2006, Gaines was posthumously granted an honorary law degree. The state bar granted him a posthumous law license. A portrait of Gaines hangs in the University of Missouri Law School building. Ain't the interest? Like, they give him all the stuff that he was fighting for, but he can't even enjoy it, right? Not only is he a lawyer, but he also can practice law. But yeah, he's been gone for decades. White folks funny like that. It's like I went down when the state of Alabama, I got this on my We All Be TV 2 channel, I think. When the state of Alabama exonerated the Scottsboro boys, like they did something wrong. The state of Alabama violated these people's human rights and civil liberties. They never had a fair trial. They destroyed these black boys. These not men. These were black boys looking for work during the Great Depression, hoboing, riding the train, riding the rails, looking for work. And then these 2 white prostitutes who did not want to go to jail for being prostitutes lied on them like they got raped. Everybody but the Scottsboro boys had that. I call it dry ass. It's DAP. Everybody but the Scottsboro boys. They named the Scottsboro boys because they was caught, or they were captured rather, in Scottsboro, Alabama back in the 30s. And it really is amazing that they were not lynched because their lives were in danger. I believe the governor did call in the National Guards at one point to protect them, I believe. I don't, but they survived miraculously because, you get accused of raping white women. You look at what they did to Bill Cosby. So anyway, but they would have killed them right on the spot if that was back, if Bill Cosby was accused of that back in the 30s, right? So not only that, one of the Scottsboro boys, one of them had an advanced case of syphilis. So it would have been too painful for him to have sex. And because what happened, these white boys got into a fight with the Scottsboro boys on the train. And the black boys kicked their ass, right? Our brothers, we know how to, black dudes, man, we just got it. So they kicked these white boys' ass and threw them out the train. So the white boys got mad and retaliated by telling the authorities that they were on the train. And so just so happened that the 2 white girls were also on the train who was hookers. They were hookers. So these hookers lying got these boys deeper in trouble, right? And it was crazy. One of the hookers recanted. She apologized, became an activist, started speaking out on behalf of the Scottsboro boys. The other one kept to her dying day that she got raped, even though she was a hooker. And everybody knew it. Not only that, they were known not only sleeping with white men, they used to sleep with black dudes. They were known for sleeping with black dudes too. It's like the Kobe Bryant thing, right? Well, she had the whole world in her pants. She had the whole wide world in her pants. She had the whole world in her pants. It's that same situation. But anyway, I don't know, man. Y'all just check out the Scottsboro boys. I guess the Communist Party helped with legal funds. They had a guy named Samuel Leibowitz. He became a federal judge later on, or Leibowitz. Samuel Leibowitz was a well-known mob lawyer. He's representing mobsters up in New York like Jack Legs, Diamond, and people like Dutch Schultz and them type of people. But also he had a thing for civil rights. But he became a federal judge later on. So that really what saved them having that type of representation, along with the public outcry. It got worldwide attention. But I went down there back in 2013 when you had the governor of Alabama who got into a scandal. I believe he had to resign or something like that. This is 2013. So look him up. You can find out who his name was at that time. So it was weird because I met some of the relatives. Think of the last one, Clarence Norris. I met his son. His son looked just like him. I think he was the last one, the only one still alive to see any type of apologies issued in terms of Scottsboro boys. Let's look them up and see how their lives turned out. Their lives were ruined by this bullshit because of a white woman telling a lie. Their lives were ruined for the rest of their lives. And in fact, one of them either commit murder-suicide. I believe he was a merchant marine. He killed himself and his wife. I mean, you talking about, y'all got sympathy for Timothy Robbins and Shawshank Redemption. The Scottsboro boys would make the Shawshank Redemption look like a damn daycare, like daddy daycare movie. They were done. So, it just, y'all don't understand the hell that our people caught, and we do ourselves a disservice. We don't talk about these cases, man. Y'all don't learn this. This is part of getting reparations. Talking about how the government killed our leaders and destroyed our men. They destroyed these boys. But I met his relatives. I said, man, they probably getting y'all a paycheck or something. Y'all probably getting reparations. They talking about, we forgive y'all. We y'all forgiven. Then white folks always say this crap. Well, it's never too late to do the right thing. I said, yes, it is when they dead. You traumatize and you help create generational trauma. That's what white folks were saying. It's never too late to do the right thing. I met the descendants of Judge Horton. To me, he was a white man that truly had a profiles and courage. Like he tried to do the right thing for the Scottsboro boys in one of their cases, and it cost him his standing a little bit. It's kind of like, I think it inspired the novel To Kill a Mockingbird. Like that Atticus Finch, whatever that Gregory Peck character was inspired by Judge Horton in taking a stand against white people insanity. He actually took a stand in favor of the boys, and I think he was white folks got their way of doing stuff. But anyway, I met his relatives. I think I met his granddaughter. But it's weird how white folks would flip the script. Like, how you exonerate them and pardon them when they was done wrong by the state? And where are the multi-million-dollar payments for the family, for the survivors? But it is what it is, right? Let me keep it moving. Let me focus more on All Eyes on Lloyd. I be all over the place, but y'all look that up. Born in 1911 in Water Valley, Mississippi, Gaines moved with his mother and siblings to St. Louis in 1926 after the death of their father. Part of the Great Migration from rural communities in the South to industrial cities in the North, his family settled in the city's Central West End neighborhood. Gaines did well academically and was a valedictorian at Vashon High School. He did that within 3 years. I think his father was a teacher at one point, but he had very poor education in Mississippi. But he was able to graduate from high school in 3 years and be the valedictorian. So they show you that he was gifted academically. He actually was very brilliant. After winning a $250 scholarship, which would be the equivalent of $4,000 today, in the essay contest, Gaines went to college. He graduated with honors and a bachelor's degree in history from Lincoln University, a historically black college in Jefferson City. Yeah, Jefferson City is the capital of Missouri. I said Columbia, now it's Jefferson City. It was the state's, and you know who that name after, you got to be Thomas Jefferson. It was the state's segregated undergraduate institution for African Americans. Now you got two Lincoln Universities. You got one in Missouri, and you got one in Pennsylvania. Yeah, y'all know the name after Abraham Lincoln. Okay. To cover the gap between his scholarship and the college's tuition, he sold magazines on the street. He was the president of the senior class and a brother in the Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity. I wanted the Alphas, are they doing anything to, bring more light to this brother's legacy? That'd be interesting to find out. I know Judge Joe Brown, he's an Alpha. I'm gonna ask him. But he actually had a teacher there that encouraged him to challenge the University of Missouri Law School for entry. His mentor at Lincoln University was a guy named Lorenzo Green. I believe that guy's name Lorenzo Green. Yeah, and we'll talk about him later on. He comes back up in the story because he kind of might have had some information about what really happened to Lloyd Gaines. So stop. But see, we got to start talking about this type of stuff and making this more better known. We got the technology, we have the platforms, you just got to have the will. You're afraid to do that. That's why they show X on. I understand, brother. I understand. Yeah, but we are the Sean Watson, and there's something fishy about that case. I think what it is that, hey, look, they don't want him to leave Houston. So they're going, hey, you gotta stay in Texas. They killed the president down in Texas. They don't give a damn about Deshaun Watson. Watson is a black football quarterback. They killed a president in Texas. What they care about? Deshaun Watson, Heisman, whatever, national football champion. Who gives a damn? You threw almost 5,000 yards. Who give a damn? They did Warren Moon dirty. People forget about how they did Warren Moon. I believe Warren Moon wanted to be a senator from Texas. Warren Moon is one of the greatest quarterbacks. And really, if you combine his Canadian Football League numbers with the NFL, because they denied him years from being in the NFL. based on the color of his skin, because to be a black quarterback was highly, highly, highly controversial back then. Think about Doug Williams. You had Redskin fans or Washington football team fans calling him all types of names but a child of God. And he won Super Bowl. He had a cannon arm, one of Gremlin's finest, Eddie Robinson, one of his people. But it is what it is. But I think they try to come at Warren Moon with some domestic violence stuff. And so needless to say, he's not a senator from Texas. I can't remember the details of the tape, but the Deshaun Watson thing, I'm slow. I ain't gonna rush to judgment on that one because there's something to that. And the guy said he's gonna exonerate and clear his name. It's like, why now? Because he want to leave. See, the thing about it is like T.I. and Tiny. A lot of y'all get caught up in that trap. I'm not gonna hate these people I don't know. To me, it sounds like that T.I. and Tiny was asked to do something they didn't want to do. Like, them folks made them an offer they can't refuse, and they refused it. It's like what Patrice O'Neal talked about. I love Patrice O'Neal, man. God bless his soul. He left us too soon. He talked about how they'll do you a favor. You want to get big time, you want to become a success, they'll do you a favor, but you got to return that favor one day. They ain't going to tell you what it is. You know what I'm saying? But one day, you're going to have to do something for them that you can't refuse. Like they say, they make you a movie star. You win all these Grammys and the movie, music star, Grammy, Oscars. You the EGOT, the EGOT. You won the Emmy and the Grammy and the Oscar and the Tony. Then one day you say, you know what? We want you to come to this event. Okay. Sit next to the president. Okay. They want you to do him in. Huh? We want you to come to this event, sit next to the president of so-and-so, and we want you to do him in. You can't say no, because if you say no, we're going to do in your whole family. We're going to take out your whole family. That's how they do it, man. And y'all talking about, I forgive my enemy. You talking about, you got Amber Geiger getting hugs for Botham John's brother and the judge. Then the judge say, oh, forget Joshua Brown. You just rude, and then he get killed and nobody say nothing about Joshua Brown no more. This is how we do this shit. People just getting killed. We say, oh, that's what they get for speaking out. That's how we act as a people, man. We very ungrateful of the sacrifices. And this is why Lloyd Gaines disappeared. Because he was by himself. He didn't have no team. No, he had his family. They helped him where they could. He had some lawyers. He had the publicity. But at the end of the day, he was the only person that went missing. Nobody else went missing but Lloyd Gaines. And he was trying to do the right thing for black people. He's not just doing it for him. He was trying to do it for people because what I have read is that Lloyd Gaines did not even want to go to law school. He was recruited by his mentor, by his Jegna, Lorenzo Green. Let me see, I got his name right, because y'all gonna get me. He was recruited by him to say, let's challenge the system. You smart enough, because he was brilliant. Because like when he didn't get into University of Missouri Law School, he went to University of Michigan and got his master's degree in economics. This man was no dummy. He had got a slow start, but once he got that education, and he got at a black school. So we talking about Brown v. Board happening 15 years after 1939. This man got the best foundation at a black school. So don't buy that crap about Jim Crow where all the black schools dilapidated. They were inferior. Yeah, they may have to get secondhand books from the white schools, but you give us a little bit, that's too much. We are amazing people. After the Civil War, we was the most literate group of people in the country. We came out of slavery and crap, and we become the most literate, most skilled people in the country. You can't tell me we ain't the chosen people. Don't need no name. I'm chosen, man. But if you don't do things in your favor, if you don't protect your interests, if you don't protect your family and your community, then you don't deserve no justice. You don't deserve no success. When you put everybody's needs above your own needs as a people, you don't deserve to be on top of the mountaintop. And this is what's happening to us. Because that brother should not feel like he was by himself, struggling. This brother would speak at events with thousands of people. And yet he's struggling to support himself, fighting on the front lines. This is why I had to talk about it this today or this week, because all the stuff, the fallout with the celebrity activism, with the glammy Grammys. I don't know people like, I don't know these people. I'm not gonna throw people. I'm not gonna go out my way trying to hurt black people. I don't care if I agree with them or don't agree with them, but there's a problem Well, we're still dealing with the same stuff that Lloyd Gaines dealt with in 1939. Well, there has not been no progress from 82 years ago. There is no reason why you should teach your kids to fear the police in 2021. Because if we did what we're supposed to do, there would be no need for no police, let alone to be fearful of any institution that you pay tax dollars to. So the thing is very fascinating to me. So what are we here for? We always forgiving monsters that destroy our people. We love them that much and we hate ourselves that much. You know, yeah, you let your enemies teach your kids, man. You wonder why they messed up in the head. Because you messed up in the head. You allow everybody access to the most vulnerable and most important and valuable things in our lives. We do as a people. We want to be having friends and allies so bad that we can't be a friend to ourselves. And this is what you get, this confusion, where you got these teachers having your kid, they got the toilet bowl bare hand for feces, doing some type of COVID crisis. Let the Becky or Karen allow your son to put his hands in a toilet bowl to pick up feces, barehanded. Or when you allow your kids to spend the night with people that force him to drink piss, you call yourself a parent. You probably be protecting your children from these horrible bastards, despicable bastards. All these institutions, like, but I can't look. It's funny to me. Look at let's say a religious organization that got over 1 billion followers. They got all these sex scandals, but guess what? They keep on getting all this fresh ass coming through. They get all these kids coming through. You keep on letting the wolves and the foxes run full on a free reign in the goddamn hen house. You let the foxes all in the hen house through the front door. Why are they doing it? I mean, the biggest predators don't go to jail. They don't go to prison. The biggest criminals in our society never go to prison. Never going to get it, never going to get it, never going to get it. They never go to prison. The biggest offenders in our society, and they are always protected by what? The institution. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry were talking about the institution, the institution, the institution, the institution. See, a lot of y'all think it's okay that people get killed for stealing pound cake. Now, Bill Cosby. No, I remember I remember some years ago at this dollar store on American Way. This is in Memphis, near the Mall of Memphis. They don't exist no more. They had a dollar store. It was on the news. Security guard shot this dude for stealing a candy bar from the dollar store. This security guard shot this person for stealing a candy bar from the dollar store. I mean, his life didn't mean a damn. I mean, if you're gonna steal maybe he was very hungry, maybe he was starving. That's why I look at it. And then a lot of stuff is insured. I'm not saying that you should steal stuff from, but sometimes I might see a person like a young black kid stealing a candy bar or gum. They try to be slick with it. But I say, man, if I tell them, they might call the police and they might end up getting killed. I don't know. You got to think. Let's say you got to think like this. I saw this person steal a lollipop. But is it worth telling the people so they could call the police and get this little boy killed? I don't know. It's like it said, you got to think like that in society, but it is what it is. Because a lot of these cops should not be cops. You look at, I talk about Antoinette Frank. There's no reason why she should have been a cop. She failed that psych exam twice. She failed that psych exam and she got trained less than a month. I mean, it's like police academy BS. And you wonder why what happened on March the 4th, 1995 in New Orleans East at that Vietnamese restaurant. And I don't think it was about race, but people try to make it about that. Well, I can't speak for nobody but myself, man. I gotta trust your own right black mind. Get your mind right, get in tune with yourself, held them ciphers with the ancestors, But with Lloyd, man, he was very much alone, man. I'm gonna tell you something. Back in the day, white folks in the state of Tennessee, right? We talking about Lloyd. They said that if they didn't want to go to University of Missouri Law School, they actually would pay for him to go somewhere else outside the state, full ride. I remember I heard like black lawyers and judges from Memphis. They some prominent people. They were talking about how they try to get the University of Tennessee Law School in Knoxville. They said, we can't have these Negroes come here. Guess what they do? They will send them to Harvard University. They send them to Harvard. I didn't say Howard. They will send them to Harvard University. Full ride. The state of Tennessee didn't want black folks to go to white folks' school that bad that they spend money sending these folks to Harvard University, places like that, to get their education. So, I mean, it's interesting to me. This is your state. You want to stay in your state for whatever reason, but your state don't even want you. And they are willing to pay top dollar to send your black ass somewhere else. Now they say it's cheaper to send them to prison. They're just warehousing people, man. America can never reach its full potential because it's how it treats its most gifted people. How can you be the greatest country, but you don't utilize all your greatest assets or resources? This is ridiculous. So Floyd, man, he was getting no support. Man couldn't find no jobs. He was well known in the black media. He was a black celebrity with no money. He was like some Instagram model. You got the filters and stuff. You know how people do on the online. You got the filters, only on camera, only on online. You meet somebody, only like what they look like on their online profile. Or you got people that they got money, cars, it's rented, money, dollar bills, $1 bill, but they got this 50 or 100 on top of the dollar bill, big money roll. It's all an illusion. It's all a game. But Lloyd Gaines was not well taken care of for the work he was doing. He was putting his life on the line. He was putting his family on the line. He was not properly compensated by the folks who said they represented his best interest. He was just a pawn. He was a guinea pig. But he signed up for it though, because like his mentor, like his Jegna, Lorenzo Greens, hey, you smart enough. Even if you get in, you can excel. But I believe at the end, when he was 28 years old, by the time he disappeared, he was not interested in going to law school. He was trying to get employment. He had his master's, right? Master's in economics. He was trying to look for employment, couldn't find none. All these friends on camera, but nobody could help him get a job. And he was going St. Louis, Chicago, Kansas City, all over the place looking for work. This is during the Great Depression. But yet he's fighting this battle for his people, but he has no resources to take care of himself. And like his brother George, right? A newspaper man interviewed his brother from the black press about a decade or so later after his disappearance. And he said, man, I still got IOUs that he owed me totaling $500. So he owed his brothers like $500 from the 1930s, and you got that's a lot of money. Because not like it's $500 in 2021. This is $500 in 1939 that Lloyd owed his brother, and it's been over a decade later after his disappearance. So I'm assuming that he must actually died then. It must have murdered him, because why would he not pay his brother back if he was alive? So they didn't take care of him. So we think about what Samaria Rice and Sister Simpson, who lost her son Richard, Robert Risher, or Robert, the guy got killed by. It's always the same old story. They say she's homeless and living in motels, trying to take care of her surviving children. People talking about they're not getting support. They just people that's using their names for fame and clout chasing. But imagine how Lloyd Gaines felt in 1939 as a black man fighting this fight, but yet not getting that support behind the scenes, not being able to take care of himself, feeling frustrated. As smart and brilliant and gifted as he was, he couldn't get no traction in his personal life. So we're gonna talk about that a little bit. Let me see what time it is. But saw some pictures of this brother. Brother, a handsome guy, right? Good looking guy. But I mean, he kept up appearances, but he was struggling. And mental health I'm not saying he was crazy, but I'm just saying, mental health for black men, we need to talk more about that, because I know it's not easy being a black man. I'm talking about a man. I ain't talking about no male or no he, she stuff. I'm talking about being a man, a black man. It's hard, man, because this system will break you And this man was standing strong and standing tall in 1939. You know, show some pictures of Brother Lloyd. Handsome guy. Got the waves, got the soul glow, I guess. Got the wavy hair. From Mississippi. A lot of great folks from Mississippi. Mississippi rooted. Okay. The strange disappearing Lloyd Gaines, like I said, he's never been declared dead legally. Like if he was alive at 100, would be 109 years old, he'd come back to Missouri and practice law. He got his honorary, when he got his law degree, I guess they say posthumously, but they never declare him dead. And he got his bar license. So he sacrificed himself for the greater good. I believe a black person was not admitted to the University of Missouri until 1950. So it's like 11 years after his disappearance. So, yeah, I mean, y'all do some research on Brother Lloyd, man. Honor our ancestors. Honor them. Cause he sacrificed a lot, man. Looks like Jackie Robinson, who played for the Kansas City Monarchs in the state of Missouri. They destroyed Jackie Robinson. He allowed them to destroy him because they lied to him. They used him as a Trojan horse to break up the Negro Leagues. He was an economic Trojan horse for white supremacy because the Negro Leagues were making way more money than the major leagues back in the day. And, this is how white folks do. The only team that was outright owned by a white person in the Negro Leagues was the Kansas City Chiefs, owned by J.L. Wilkerson. He was good friends with Branch Rickey, who was the general manager for the Brooklyn Dodgers. So that was an inside deal. It's always an inside job. So they used Jackie Robinson to destroy an economic powerhouse for the black community in the Negro Leagues. Black folks, they were helping empower we had a real community when we had the Negro Leagues as an economic powerhouse for the black community. Because like Major League Baseball was not only popular among black people, but also white folks love Negro Leagues baseball because the style of play in the Negro Leagues was very different from the major leagues. But by the time Jackie Robinson died, man, he was about 80 years old. He died in his 50s. Disillusioned, disappointed, and bitter. Legally blind from diabetes. Man was broken. They broke Jackie Robinson. And by the way, Jackie Robinson never stood or saluted the anthem. He never did or salute the flag. He talks about this in his autobiography. He never stood or saluted the flag during the national anthem. And you can't say he's not an American hero. I mean, he was a World War II veteran. He almost got lynched down in Texas. This man got court-martialed. Guess where, y'all? Fort Hood, Texas. That base should not be open. There's something weird about that base. You just had that Latina girl got killed down there. They keep on finding people that have been missing, dead. People shooting each other. You had that Muslim therapist, psychiatrist, or whatever, went on that shooting spree. Well, they're back in 2009 or maybe the last 12, 13 years. Fort Hood is evil. Something's going on in Fort Hood, man. Something ain't right. Something just ain't right. It ain't right, man. But Jackie Robinson almost lost his life down there in Texas. He fought that. This is before Rosa Parks. This is like what is it, like 10 years or 10 or 11? It was like 11 years before Rosa Parks. I believe it was 1944. But you know what's interesting? Jackie Robinson was able to become an officer because of Joe Louis. Joe Louis helped Jackie Robinson become an Army officer. I think he was a lieutenant. And so Joe Louis got screwed over by the government. The man gave $1 million to the government, and they used the IRS to destroy Joe Louis. Feds so ruthless, they came for Joe Louis. That's what Nas said. Feds so ruthless, they came for Joe Louis. So, yeah, they destroy our people, man. They destroy our heroes. They emasculate the greats. What? Murder Malcolm and gay Cassius the Shakes. That's what Jay-Z said. Y'all be hating on Jay, but Jay be dropping that game, man. I ain't talking about his business model. I ain't talking about it's like Tyler Perry. I like the business plan, but the aesthetics lack. But with Jay-Z, I love the rapping, caring enough for how he do business. So thank you, Alquan. I appreciate it. So they destroy our people, man. And they got a fear of strong black men in this society. Even our women fear us now. It's sad. Our women used to love us. They used to ride and hold us down. I ain't talking. Look, individual cases, right? But I'm saying as a whole, our women used to hold us down, man. They wanted the man to be strong. They wanted our men to be strong. Look at Ida B. Wells, Dr. Frances Cress Wilson. Her birthday was yesterday. Fannie Lou Hamer died on March the 14th. It's funny how it's not funny in a ha way that Tamir Rice's mom came out on Fannie Lou's death date. No, she had this Fannie Lou spirit riding strong because I love about Fannie Lou. Fannie Lou was she wasn't the most articulate, this and that, but she was brilliant because she knew that it took grassroots organizing. You got to do it from the community level. It ain't the national. The national hold you down. Any organization historically, the national thing will hold you up at the national level. It's really at the local level that things get done. So what people don't understand, it's not about having this national leadership. It's about in your community or making your neighborhood a real community. It's about controlling the local resources. Like they say, all politics are local, man. The national, whatever, it's like we shouldn't be concerned about who's president long as we get the resources allocated to us locally. So how do you control getting the resources to your local thing? So this is where we need to go. And Fannie Lou Hamer did it. The Freedom Farm Co-op, affordable housing for Black people. She did that working with a Black organization. Did the National Council of Negro Women. Did it or color women. I don't know that, Dr. Dorothy Heights organization. But what I'm saying is this woman didn't have no college degree. She didn't have no PhD. She didn't have no high school diploma. But she was one of our most effective leaders in the last 50-something years. Didn't know she could vote till she was 44. But once she figured out that she had some rights, she put her life on the line forevermore. She died at 59, but as soon as she tried to register to vote, that night they were trying to shoot her up. They shot her house 15 times. Then the state of Mississippi violated her human rights by sterilizing her without her consent. This is what we've been dealing with as a people. It's lunacy. It's insanity. Yeah, Cool Papa Bell. He from St. Louis. Cool Papa Bell was one of the greatest teams of all time. Baseball teams. The Homestead Grays. Man, that team from the 30s with Cool Papa Bell, Buck Leonard, Josh Gibson, Satchel Paige. That was a bad team, man. That team was legendary. Then it was put together by a dude named Gus Greenlee. Hell, he might be related to Sam Greenlee, but Gus Greenlee was a gangster. He built one of the first Black-owned stadiums in the country in Pittsburgh. It cost him like $105,000 back in 1931. Imagine that. Or the 1930s, it cost them around, and see, that's the 1930s money, $105,000. He built that stadium because the Pittsburgh Pirates didn't want them to play no more in their stadium. So they said, the hell with that, we build our own. If you build it, they will come. Field of Dreams type of stuff. I think it was a Homestead grade. Let me look that up. I'm going to talk about more about Lloyd Gaines. Homestead grade. Yeah, but we need to try being better versed in our history. Because the truth will set us free, man. Yeah, they said the 1931 Homestead Grays is arguably the greatest baseball team of all time. Like, you go against 1927 Yankees, they call them Murderers Row with Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth, and all them guys can hit, Tommy Lazzeri. But they said this is one of the greatest teams of all time, man. They had Oscar Charleston on that team and Smokey Joe Williams, too. Let's looking it up. Yeah, they had some heavy hitters on this team. So they won 3 National League, Negro National League championships in a 4-year span beginning in 1933. Okay. They won 9 consecutive league titles from 1937 through 45. Wow. Yeah, Cool Pop Up. Let me see. Wait a minute. I said the Grays, the Homestead Grays. Okay, I mean, let me take you back to the last thing I said. That was the Pittsburgh Crawfords that won 3 Negro League national championships in a 4-year span. But the Grays won those 9 consecutive league titles from 1937 to 45. Okay. I'm confusing the Pittsburgh. Let me get away from this baseball stuff right now. But the Homestead Grays, okay. Let's see. I'm confusing the history, but Gus Greenlee, he did found the Pittsburgh Crawfords in 31. He built the Greenlee Stadium in 31 or in the 30s for like $105,000, I believe. Because it says the first black built, but I don't know, because you got the Martin brothers down in Memphis. They used to own the Memphis Red Sox at that time, and they had a black-owned stadium, the Martin Stadium in Memphis. They tore that down, of course. But it's interesting. This history is interesting. Yeah, I'm thinking about the Pittsburgh Crawfords. Okay. Oh, they gotta look it up. But Pittsburgh Crawfords, Gus Greenlee. You also had the Homestead Grays, but the Pittsburgh Crawfords had the Josh Gibson and Satchel Paige and Cool Papa Bell. They had the team, Oscar Charleston. But anyway, Lloyd Gaines. Let me read. Yeah, black men save Major League Baseball, but how many black American men are playing baseball now? How many black American men play baseball? I mean, I ain't talking about from Dominican. You got, they don't, a lot of them don't consider themselves black. They can say, I'm Dominican, I'm Cuban, anything but black. It's like Sammy Sosa. But there ain't no black. Imagine if LeBron James were playing baseball. Man, that man, as athletic and big, as fast as he is, can you imagine him playing baseball? He's right now, he's arguably the MVP of basketball. And he's in his late 30s doing, it's like Tom Brady, but more athletic. And that's by design, though. That's by design. Because you had the Negro League baseball players. They used to play in leagues in Mexico and Cuba and places like that, Dominican Republic. They used to play all over, man. But yeah, ain't that many. Because you think about even the late, great Tony Gwynn or Dave Winfield, these guys were multi-sport stars. Dave Winfield could have been a basketball player. Tony Gwynn could have been a basketball player, but they chose baseball. And to me, baseball, you got a better chance of longevity than football or basketball, especially football. Can you imagine a player? It's rare. I mean, you got your George Blanders and your Tom Brady's and your Brett Favre's, but it's rare that a player could play almost 20 seasons in football. But you could do that 20-something seasons easily in baseball in comparison to the other sports. Because basketball, even with Kobe, man, he played about 20 years. That's wear and tear on your body. He had them freak injuries at the end. But you imagine jumping up and down, running up and down, jumping up and down on that hardwood for 20 plus years. And also you did that in college and high school, junior high school. I mean, that takes a wear and tear on your body. Yeah. And Major League Baseball do pay good money in comparison. If you look at football, they get hurt or something, they be cutting their money and stuff. It's crazy. Yeah, I heard LeBron owned part of the Red Sox, which is interesting because at one point the Red Sox was so damn white supremacist oriented. Nobody black wanted to play in Boston for a long time. Think about how they did Bill Russell. Bill Russell won 11 championships out of 13 years of playing professional basketball. They still ran Bill Russell out of Boston. This man won championships for the Boston Celtics, and they still ran him out of Boston. It took him a while to reconcile. It took Bill Russell a while to reconcile with Boston. But even you look at somebody like I used to collect baseball cards all the time. It was a dude named Jim Rice. He was a black baseball player. I think he was a teammate with Carl Yastrzemski and them guys. He was playing in Boston back in the 70s. They put him in the Hall of Fame a few years back. But to me, if you're a black player and you were playing in Boston and you put up some decent numbers, you deserve to be in it should be a affirmative action Hall of Fame for you. Because when I heard some stories about Boston back in those times, if you was a black baseball, nobody want to go to Boston. You're black. But Boston, at one point, I'm gonna tell you how racist Boston was. The Reds, they're like the Redskins of baseball, or the Washington football team of baseball. They had a chance to get not only Willie Mays, but also Hank Aaron, and they passed on both. They had a chance to get Hank Aaron and Willie Mays, and they didn't want them. That means you don't want to win. That means that you hate black folks that much that you cost yourself some wins and championships. They could have won that championship much, much earlier. Forget about some curse of the Bambino. You had Willie Mays or Hank Aaron. But I think the owner at the time was named Yawkey. Well, it was like Yawkey or something like that. But let me talk about Lloyd Gaines. Yeah, I used to like Jim Rice. There's something about him. He's like he was a class act. I don't know him personally, but like I like the way he carried himself and knowing about the history of Boston and sports and race. I said, yeah, he should be in the Hall of Fame. He put up some pretty decent numbers for his time. He put up some pretty decent numbers for his time. But let's get back to Lloyd Gaines. Let's wrap it up. I got confused on Pittsburgh Crawfords. I was talking about the Crawfords being one of the great, Homestead Grays were great too, but the Crawfords were owned by Gus Greenlee, who built that stadium in Pittsburgh. So a lot of confusion. I apologize for that. Y'all can get that cleared up. If y'all interested in learning more about Negro League baseball, you should, because it's very fascinating. Because you had a white, they trying to say it was a white woman passing for black. There was like a co-owner of one of these baseball teams out of New Jersey, but she was for the black. She was B1. So they're trying to say she either was white passing or she was actually high yellow. Name was Effa Manley. Let me look up right quick. But she was a co-owner of the Negro Leagues team, but she was really animate about protecting the Negro Leagues from getting wiped out by the white boys. But unfortunately, everybody didn't agree with her. It sold out. You know how that works. But see if I find a picture of her right quick. Effa Manley. I did a video about her about a couple years ago. While I was trying to, when Jay-Z got involved in football and NFL, I said he should like research Effa Manley and be a credit to his race. But Jay-Z, he don't have to listen to me. He'll be in there. But this is Effa Manley. I'm just gonna show some pictures. It says she was passing for black, but some people said she actually was mixed race. I'm not sure, but I do know that she loved black men. She loved black men. And she was a Hall of Fame. She just got into the Baseball Hall of Fame not too long ago. And this is her husband right here. He owned, let me see what team they own. The Newark Eagles. They own the Newark Eagles out of New Jersey. Yeah. But she was like all about black people, man. She put black folks first. So I don't know what the hell she was, but she want to live as black. She black to me. I said black is an attitude. Like white is an attitude. Like to me, Meghan Markle ain't black, but even if this woman was white, she black because she wanted to be black. She chose to be. She could have passed. She could have easily called herself a white woman, but she wanted to live as a black one. She loved owning a black baseball team, and she was a very strong advocate for Negro League baseball. So if she says she black to me. Because she was always outspoken about black people rights and stuff. So y'all can look up Effa Manley. Interesting woman. So I'm going all over the place. Yeah, well, you know what? It is interesting, man. It is fascinating what you just said. I mean, I interviewed a brother some years ago, He had his own, I guess, version of Negro Leagues. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know what came of it, but I interviewed him a couple times. I had my blog talk radio thing going on, and he was trying to bring back, baseball in the inner city. My thing is, I like his ambition and his vision, but we don't really believe in ourselves like that anymore. You understand? Like, we think too small. We don't dream big enough. We let these folks knock us down. We don't know how to fight for what we want because we don't even have an idea of what we really want. I really do think that we just want to be around white people at all costs, and it's costing us. We want to be around them at all costs. And they're not telling the truth about Jim Crow and how we was really successful. Now, my thing about the whole thing was, I don't want to eat at a restaurant where they spit in my food because they don't think my thing is, I think what they were saying, like, look, we just don't want to be told that we can't go certain places because we supposed to be citizens, right? We want to be able to say, you know what? I know y'all don't like me. I don't want to eat here, but I don't want you to be able to tell me I can't come here. And I think that's kind of weird. I don't want to go where I'm not wanted. How about that? Why don't you want to go? Why would anybody want to go where they're not wanted? Why do you want to live in a place where you don't feel safe? We don't feel like it's home. It's weird. It's weird how we got this thing. But if you look at our greatest successes came when we were forced to deal with each other. When we were forced to go to school together and to work and to live in the same neighborhood. When we were forced to deal with each other, we had our greatest victories. Even when we look at the Montgomery bus boycott, for example, when we had to deal with us, we was able to do something phenomenal. And then the movement became more diluted. You let the white folks get involved with their money to control it. White folks started controlling them more. They had their agenda, whether it be women's rights or gay rights. It was about anything but black people liberation. That will happen. That's why Dr. King said before he died, we was integrating to a burning house because we lost our way. At first, we were very clear about what we were trying to do. And then we started being about, free love and all this other crap. It's like you talk to these veterans, like, Dr. Short talked about it, but I already knew about it before I even met Dr. Short. The veterans were telling me, hey, when we used to have these sex houses down in Mississippi, we having all these sex orgies, black and white, zebra love calls. We didn't know when we gonna live or die. We just was busting a nut to glory. John Legend in comments. It gives a different definition when you hear about these elders talking about their sexcapades doing Freedom Summer. And people, Brother Ron, you over exaggerate. No, they told me this. The veterans, they told me that they had these type of sex houses and stuff along the Freedom Trail, Yeah, it's funny how some people be real light skinned and then when they get older, they get darker. But I think she loved the fact that she had some melanin in her, she was dark because she really loved being a black woman. Because I said she was very outspoken. Like, she didn't have to be that outspoken, but what she was helping keep up with the finances of the league. She would balancing the checkbook of her team, but also she was very involved in the leadership at the national level at the Negro Leagues. And a sad thing about the Negro Leagues that when they start poaching the talent, when the major leagues start poaching the talent from the Negro Leagues, the owners and stuff were not compensated. So really, to me, they could have took this as a law. I mean, they should have took this to court. How the Negro League was basically being disrespected, and it's not right. But like I said, Jackie Robinson at the end, he died a broken, disillusioned man. A buck broke Jackie Robinson. And I don't mean that as disrespect, but you just look into his story and read his autobiography. You see what I'm talking about. The white folks, man, they destroyed Jackie Robinson. And they tried to use him to destroy Paul Robeson. So it's some messed stuff that they do, but like they use us against us. That's why I said I'm not celebrating this so-called fallout with the so-called celebrity activists and the grieving families, because really we got to find a way to coexist and realize who really is the real enemy. I don't think Tamika Mallory is the real enemy. I just think that she's doing what she do. I mean, I heard her response on her show with my son, brother named my son. She a very effective communicator for her point. And I like how she didn't really want to go in on Tamir's mom. Cause I mean, how can you really go in on her, man? How can you say she wrong for what she's saying? That's how she feeling. And like, you gotta understand, this is like 7 years later almost, right? Could it happen in 2014? So I mean, it's like Eric Gardner's daughter. Nobody talks about her no more. They poor her. She died of a broken heart, man. She died because she saw the hypocrisy. Yeah, they got the bag, but she had to lose her father, probably her best friend, because of the bag. She was so much in hurt and pain and grief that she didn't have enough to stay here for her child or her children, whatever. I think she was a mom. So she was in so much pain. She had to leave this place in a hurry before her time because of what they did to her father and how the people around her that's supposed to have her back didn't have her back, and how they used her and her family pain for whatever agenda. So this is how Lloyd Gaines was feeling towards the end as well. He felt like he was being used and abused by the folks that supposed to represent the interests of not only him, but also black people. So with that said, I'm all over the place. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I hear you. It's not disrespect, it's the truth. I hear you. And it hurt, man. The truth ain't no fan to nobody. The truth don't care about your feelings. Fuck your feelings. No, the truth said. The truth told me, fuck your feelings, Ron. So yeah, you're right. It is the truth. But let me just, I don't want to keep y'all all night. I apologize. I'll be rambling on. Rambling, man. So I'm gonna put up Lloyd Gaines. I'm gonna read this letter he wrote, the last letter he wrote to his mom. And you know what's interesting? Like back then, black people took pride in their handwriting. I don't take no pride in my handwriting. I'm left-handed, but that's no excuse. My handwriting is horrible now. I just scribble on stuff. But but back then, black folks really took pride in their penmanship. Like, the better you wrote, the more educated you seemed. Like I had a Jegna, the late great Emerson Abel Jr., who was Isaac Hayes' high school band director at Manassas, kicked him out the band, ended up playing for Isaac Hayes at Stax, helped him arrange his music. Isaac could not read music, but from my understanding, Isaac was a very talented musician who had perfect pitch. But he had people like Mr. Abel helping him with his music. And I believe when he won the Oscar for Shaft, for the theme song for Shaft, he actually thanked Mr. Abel during his speech. So Mr. Abel's real close to Isaac Hayes. And but I remember I got a letter from him giving me my assignment to honor the legacy of Memphis musicians. I was so impressed with his penmanship. Like I think he was a master artist at calligraphy. He just had extraordinarily beautiful handwriting. But even with Lloyd Gaines, his handwriting is interesting. Like I can actually understand what he wrote, even though he write, it's cursive, it's interesting. It's like, it's fascinating. But you could tell the way he wrote that letter that he really had a lot of love for his mom, a lot of respect and trust from his mom. So let me read this letter that's dated March the 3rd, 1939. And keep in mind, he disappeared March 19th, 1939. Yeah, they just took pride. That's a different generation. They just took pride. I mean, you gonna tell me I can't be this? I can write as good as the white man. I could do anything that the white man could do. You know how our people thinking like that back in the day. But right now, we like, whatever. Just give me the bag. All times have changed. Let me find that letter. Let me find it. And thank y'all for being patient and understanding as we work our way through this. I'm trying to wrap it up. But y'all can find all this. Like, look up Lloyd Gaines. Y'all can find so much information on him. Like I said, we got to keep his memory alive and keep our eyes on the prize and hold on. I'm trying to find that. Where did it go? Okay. So this is what he wrote. He wrote this mama March 3rd, 1939 from Chicago. Chicago, that darling town. Dear mother, I have come to Chicago hoping to find, if possible, to make my own way. I hope that by this letter, I shall make very clear the reasons for such a step. First, you will wonder why I gave up my job. This I resigned Thursday before leaving St. Louis because, y'all listen to this. Number one, there were illegal tricks of the trade being practiced by the company that would certainly involve me should I have remained there until they were made public. This had to do with the practice of selling a cheap quality gas as regular gas and the selling of the regular gas as ethyl, or the highest price gasoline. No doubt I was so employed as a respected and trusted man to gyp my unsuspecting friends. Number two, the peculiarity of this station's location makes it virtually impossible to make it a paying enterprise. And though I had no say about business policies that drove trade away, I was nevertheless held responsible for its inability to clear expenses. Number three, I had to buy my own coal, and of the small wages received. Out of the small wages received, I had to buy my own coal. No, keep warm, the coal, keep warm. Out of the small wages received. Number four, the 12-hour day, 7 days a week, effectively cut off all my business and social contacts. The man working 12 hours a day for 7 days a week on small wages. It's during the Great Depression. Number five, the very character and attitude of Austin forbade my remaining any longer at any price or consideration. The job was distasteful from the first. See, he was working at a gas station. I didn't put that. He was working at a gas station 12 hours a day, 7 days a week for no money hardly. And they were cheating people. And probably when the stuff hit the fan, they would have blamed him. And you see he had this name, he had the reputation for being a freedom fighter, for standing up for black people, and he had integrity. So let me finish this letter. I asked some of my friends in a position to do so to be on the lookout for another job for me long before I quit, but to no avail. So I stayed as long as I could. They seem to think that I have a family that will gladly assume responsibility for my expenses while idle, even though you know how far this is from the true situation. Perhaps I myself am to blame for being unemployed, but not for my sense of independence, responsibilities of manhood, and my fighting spirit that asks no quarters and gives none. So he was a fighter, he was a rider. As for my publicity statue, or relative to the university case, I have found that my race still likes to applaud, shake hands, pat me on the back, and say how great and noble is the idea, how historical and socially important the cause or the case. But, and there it ends. Off and out of the confines of the publicity columns, I am first a man, not one who has fought and sacrificed to make the case possible, one who is still fighting and sacrificing, almost, look, this is what he said down, almost the supreme sacrifice, to see that if it is a complete and lasting success for 13 million Negroes. No, just another man. Sometimes I wish I were just a plain, ordinary man whose name no one recognized. I rode the Streamline Burlington to Kansas City. That's a train. The train Streamliner is truly a luxury in transportation. Air conditioned, comfortable, clean, and radio equipped. In Kansas City, I spoke to a capacity crowd of about 1,400, with hundreds being turned away. That is how enthusiastic they were over my coming. My room at the Y, that's the YMCA, my board, and the transportation cost me nothing. I must say, I have never met such hospitality and friendship anywhere. They helped me, they kept me busy, almost an hour after the meeting was over, shaking hands and signing autographs. Monday in the AM, I was taken over to the summer high school in Kansas City, Kansas, where I addressed the school assembly. My folks from Kansas City, Kansas. I wonder if they met Lloyd Gaines. My grandma passed though. My first address as of Sunday was devoted elements of unity and cooperation, while my second was choosing and achieving your purpose in life. Wow. So he could have been a motivational speaker, I guess. I enjoyed my brief stay in KC and found no possible opening for work. There, I decided to come over here. So I left KC Monday, 9 p.m. in the midst of a heavy snowstorm. Got here 11 a.m. Tuesday. He talking about Chicago. Eddie made page of, home, and Eddie made page. The pages were from St. Louis, but they moved to Chicago, so friends of the family. Eddie made page of home and had her to cook lunch. Okay, he went over house for lunch. Ham and eggs, wheat cakes, and coffee. Then the letter got smudged. She had something to come, and so I stayed until Mr. Page came in from work before getting my room at the Y. It was room 203. So far, I haven't been able to dig up a single job prospect, but I am still trying. Paid up my room until March the 7th. If nothing turns up by then, I have to make other arrangements. Should I forget to write for a time, don't worry about it. I can look after myself okay. As ever, Lloyd. Oh, man. This is the last letter his mama ever got from him in life. And it's interesting. He's talking about making a supreme sacrifice. So that's some interesting language he's using. And you don't hear from me for a time. But who knew that, 82 years later on March 19th, we haven't heard from him, at all. It's been 82 years. He said, you don't hear from me for a time, don't worry. I mean, it's been 82 years. His mama dead. Mama been dead, right? But she was interviewed by the Black press about a decade or so later. We'll talk about that as well before I get out of here. Try to do it justice. But this stuff is bothersome to me because we still dealing with the same crap. You see how people say they're not being supported. This man had 1,400 people. He got hundreds of people, but ain't nobody can help him get a job. This man's a college graduate. He got a master's degree, but nobody can help him get a job. He got to beg his brother for money. He owed his brother $500 at the time of his disappearance, and that debt never been paid. That's $500 in 1930 money. We don't look. Dr. Randy Short, I'm gonna keep on saying. He said we love our traitors and we hate our heroes. This man was a credit to his race. He was a race man. He was B1, but we don't know what the hell happened to him. What the hell happened to him? Why was he by himself? People say, oh, he's a loner. He liked to be alone. He probably was like that because he didn't want to be a bothersome to nobody. He felt ashamed that as a man, he couldn't take care of himself. And, it's so much pressure put upon men to be men. It's hard to be a man. You got to be a provider. You got to be a protector. You can't be a coward. You just can't be, you got to be more. And like you look at these pictures, man. I mean, he's a handsome guy. He's charismatic, well-spoken, but yet he looked the part, but he couldn't get the part. You understand? So, I mean, it's sad, but I don't know, man. I just, boy, this is heavy stuff, man. I hope y'all, research more about this man because it is really sad. Like sometimes it'd be hard for me to do these type of things, man. I just don't want to do none of this stuff. I just want to sit alone. I just want to be a loner and be alone with my thoughts, man. But I had to share this tonight because people think that they own the person that's struggling, man. This man was struggling, and he did it. He knew the bigger picture. He knew that what he was doing, he would not get the benefit of. He already knew that. He already knew that what he was doing, he was not going to go to law school. He already knew he was not going to go to law school. And his mama, because that's her child, she knew that. But my thing is, he was recruited to open the door for other people. See, we don't got that spirit no more as a people. We don't got that selfless spirit no more of the pioneer. We don't have that spirit. It's like what Dr. King said. I'm not that far away when Dr. King did his last speech on the planet at Mason Temple. It's right down the way. It's right down Crump at Kojic, Church of God in Christ, Mason Temple. What he said, I might not get there. I'm not going to get there with you, but I have seen the mountaintop. I have seen the promised land. He knew that he was not going to benefit from the sacrifice that he will make. He said, I'm making almost a supreme sacrifice. We all know what the supreme sacrifice is. Y'all got a person y'all love called Jesus or Yahweh or whatever y'all call it. He died for our sins. So he died for black folks because we was too afraid to stand with the brother as he was going through the hell. We was too afraid. We still afraid. That's why they know they got us, because they know what he said in one of his speeches about unity and cooperation. Even that, he had to remind black folks we need unity and we need cooperation. So, and this is why Bill Cosby's in prison, R. Kelly's in prison, Mumi Abu-Jamal's in prison, El Jalamin or H. Rap Brown, I don't know if I said his name right, is in prison. Assad Shakur is stuck in Cuba, because we don't have no unity or cooperation or even a clear vision to work towards as a people. But this is why I had to do the show tonight, because there's a lot of shows. I want to talk about LaTosha Harlan. I want to talk about Dr. Francis Cress Wilson, but it's just so much going on that we don't need to be worried about NBA right now, who did or did not get a Grammy or Oscar nomination. I don't care right now. Because really, it's troubling on my mind that I got to even talk about this, because it's weird. This man just disappeared. And nobody said anything for months after his disappearance. And Jacob Hoover, somebody contacted him back in the 70s about this case. He said, it's out of our jurisdiction. Man, why is that your jurisdiction? The man had a landmark Supreme Court victory that he couldn't even celebrate. He disappeared a couple months later on a grocery store run or something to get some stamps. This stuff should be disturbing. This really should be disturbing. I mean, and that's why they keep on doing this stuff to us, because we don't have no type of accountability. We don't have no type of follow through. We don't have no type of institutional control where we can actually leverage things to get what we want. We don't even have a lobby. We still talking about Ice Cube talking to Trump. I mean, with Fannie Lou Hamer, if she was alive, she would have took that money for Trump too. You gotta remember, the Democrat Party was not the party for for black people. They were the party for white people. And they disrespected Fannie Lou Hamer when they were trying to get their credentials at the Democratic convention, national convention back in '64 in Atlantic City. When they refused to seat the Mississippi Freedom Democratic Party, they try to silence a huge block of Mississippi's population. Mississippi, the state of Mississippi, got a population of 40% black people. Almost 40% black people make up the population of Mississippi as a state today. You got to understand something. The state-sponsored white terrorism ran out a whole bunch of black folks out of Mississippi. A lot of black folks that used to live in Mississippi, they take themselves to St. Louis like his family did, or Chicago, Detroit, whatever, out west. So can you imagine if black folks would never ran out the state? And you got to think about the state of Mississippi, about less than 20% of the businesses are black owned. But imagine if black folks were allowed to stay in Mississippi and not be in fear of their lives for all these decades. Like, you think about, look at the Mississippi state constitution of 1890. This is when everything really changed. You only had one black person, I think, in attendance, and he was one of the co-founders of Mountain Bayou, Mississippi. That's a very powerful. That was Fannie Lou Hamer died. There was Dr. T.M. Howard started his career. He was the wealthiest black man in the state of Mississippi, had a medical practice, but the first black swimming pool in the state in Mountain Bayou, Mississippi. Had a petting zoo. When Emmett Till mom came to Mississippi to face his killers in that trial, she stayed at Dr. T.M. Howard's house in Mountain Bayou. round the clock security detail, black men with guns. He said she felt so protected. Because, I mean, she was from Mississippi. So imagine how many governors and U.S. senators, forget this Benny Thompson character. I'm talking about governors would have been black. This is after Reconstruction I'm talking about. Black governors, U.S. senators. So they knew what they were doing when they denied Fannie Lou Hamer and the Mississippi Freedom Democratic parties their credentials. But what they end up doing is that they caused Mississippi to become the state with the most elected black officials at one point. I don't know if it's true now, but at one point they were the state with the most elected black officials. But the problem with that is you got black folks hanging from trees and in jail cells in Mississippi for the last 40, 50 years, and nobody's held anybody accountable. So what good to have skin folk or kinfolk in places of power that they don't do nothing for empowerment of their people? So you get people like Lloyd Gaines out here in the breeze with no protection, and he could disappeared. They could just disappear this brother. So, I mean, let me calm down. Neighbors going to complain. I forgot it's midnight. But let me read. Oh, brother Ron talking. I can't go to sleep. Even though it's Saturday morning, it's midnight. I should be scrolling, but I can't go to sleep. I'm trying to go to church tomorrow. Anyway, let me find this information. I'm gonna shut it down. Give me about 30 minutes. Let me find. Y'all can find. Y'all should check out the Lloyd Gaines. Let me see. I think one of the best articles on this case was written by the Riverfront Times. It came out, I believe, in April 4th on Dr. King's anniversary of his death, 2007. Also, April 4th is also the birthday of Maya Angelou, who's from St. Louis, who was born in St. Louis April 4th, 1928. But y'all need to check out. Let's see. So I feel like I be having a hangover out there do these things, man. I feel like I have a hangover. Y'all need to check this out right here. This article. The Riverfront Times is I guess a weekly out in St. Louis. They did a great job of writing about a follow-up about what happened, the mystery of Lloyd Gaines. And they actually interviewed his great niece. Her grandmother was the last sibling to die of Lloyd Gaines. So she died, I think, back in 2000, because this was written in 2007. So she's like 87 years young when she died, but she never talked about Lloyd. But Tracy Berry, I don't know if she retired, but she's an alum of WashU like I am. She graduated from Washington University Law School, which is interesting because her ancestor, her great uncle, fought for the right for black people to attend law school in the state of Missouri. And then decades later, his great niece, or grandniece, whatever you call it, grandniece, great niece, she graduated from WashU Law School class of 91, and she was a federal lawyer, a prosecutor. I don't know if she's retired or not, but at the time of the story, she was a federal prosecutor. So anyhow, let me read a little bit about what they were saying. Let's see. And thank y'all for y'all patience, man. I appreciate it. Let me find that picture. So y'all, I want y'all to go to sleep thinking about Lloyd Gaines tonight. Lionel Gaines. That brother deserved better than what he got. But life ain't fair. No, let's think about that brother. I want him on your mind. I want y'all to write y'all state reps or whatever y'all got to do. I didn't look at what happened to our brother Lloyd Gaines. It's ridiculous. I want to see what his family say. I mean, like you got people in your family like that. They kind of go on their own, be gone for days. Something of a loner. Gaines was known to stay away from home for nights on end and journey off campus without telling a soul. Discussing the disappearing years later, one of Lloyd's older brothers told a reporter he always kept kind to himself, so we figured he knew what he was doing, and whatever he did was his own business. So I mean, you got people like that because I be, I be to myself a lot, just working on stuff. Just like to spend time by myself. Days will pass before anyone realized Gaines was missing. It would take another 7 months before his disappearance became public. Newspapers across the country carried his photo. Anyone with information to his whereabouts was urged to contact the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. None of those efforts produced any solid leads. In the weeks and months that followed, rumors circulated that Gaines had fallen into the hands of segregationist marauders. His body disposed of, never to be found. Rumors later placed him in New York, where he's said to have worked as a school teacher. Still more reported sightings placed Gaines in Mexico City, where he supposedly fled after taking a lucrative bribe to drop his suit. Oh my God. Years later, Gaines's whereabouts remains a mystery. For generations, Lloyd Gaines was rarely mentioned among his descendants, growing up in the family's rambling 3-story home just north of the Central West End. That's a beautiful part of St. Louis. I went to WashU. I know. Oddly, authorities never looked into Gaines's disappearance, and it's unclear whether his family ever went to police in St. Louis or Chicago to report him missing. At the time, they probably didn't think it would be or would do any good. Rationalizes Gaines's great niece, St. Louis resident Tracy Berry. That's the one I'm talking about, Tracy Berry, who's a federal prosecutor. You figure this is a family who migrated from the South, where the Ku Klux Klan still dominated the scenery. They weren't likely to rock the boat. For that matter, the family has never declared Lloyd Gaines legally dead, but that may all soon change. Now, this was written this came out April 4th, 2007. I don't think he's been declared legally dead. I think because you look at some sites say he disappeared. So disappeared don't mean he's dead legally. They gotta announce that. But anyway. To my grandmother and Lloyd's other siblings, the story of Lloyd Gaines was significant because their brother disappeared, not because he won a Supreme Court decision. Reflects Berry, who in 1991 realized her great uncle's dream when she received a law degree from Washington University. The general public looks at his life as this historical tale. For us, it's a family tragedy that's yet to be answered. What if anything, authorities will discover in their investigation remains to be seen. Of the more than 100 civil rights era cold cases the NAACP has asked the Justice Department to investigate in recent years, Gaines's disappearance presents one of the toughest challenges. Few people with any firsthand knowledge of the case are still alive, and no corpse or remains have ever been found. I welcome the FBI investigation because in my mind, it's certainly not a done deal, say Lloyd Gaines' nephew, George. But given the time frame involved, I don't know if they're going to find anything conclusive. It's been a long time. Let me read this part. I think it's interesting too, because it's talking about when his nephew George Gaines first realized the details, because he was alive, but he was a little baby back then. So I mean, it's hard for him. I don't think he really remember his uncle, perhaps, at all. It wasn't until he was in junior high and flipping through Ebony magazine that George Gaines learned the first in-depth details of his uncle's disappearance. Written by reporter Edward T. Clayton, the article published in May 1951 remains the most thorough investigation into Gaines's disappearance. Clayton traced Gaines' path from St. Louis to Kansas City and on to Chicago, where he hoped to find work in the late winter of 1939. The story told a tale of a man who grown weary of his role as a civil rights trailblazer. In Chicago, Clayton found Gaines's former neighbors from St. Louis, Nancy Page and her daughter, Eddie Mae. For several weeks, Gaines was a frequent dinner guest at their home. On March 19th, 1939, he promised to repay the pair by taking them out to supper. Gaines never arrived for the scheduled meal. Nancy Page told Clayton that Gaines appeared distressed and worried in the days leading up to his disappearance. I never thought much about it at the time, recalled Page, but Gaines did seem to be running away from something. Of course, I didn't dare to try to pry into his affairs, but I remember once I did ask him if he was planning to go to the University of Missouri. I call it Missouri, yes. And I think he even hedged on this. His answer wasn't straightforward. And if I remember correctly, he said something like this: if I don't go, I will have at least made it possible for some other boy or girl to go. Those words are prophetic. Words create worlds, y'all. Remember what he said. Although Gaines told Page that he found a job at a nearby department store, Clayton discovered Gaines never reported for his first day of work. Meanwhile, fraternity brothers at the Alpha Phi Alpha House, where Gaines briefly stayed after checking out of the Chicago YMCA, provided Clayton with few additional insights into his disappearance. The Ebony reporter noted that Gaines was short on money, and the brothers took up a collection for him just days before he vanished, leaving behind at the frat house a small duffel bag full of dirty socks, shirts, and ties. Man. Back in St. Louis, Clayton visited with Gaines's mother, Callie, whom he had found bedridden and living in the attic of the family's home on Bell Street. Callie claimed to have no knowledge of what happened or became of her son, but confirmed rumors or various sightings. Of course, we heard a lot of reports about where he was, but none of them meant anything, she told Clayton. We heard once that he was in Mexico. Another time, somebody said he was in New York, but nobody knows any more than we do. Like Nancy Page in Chicago, Lloyd's mother expressed doubt that her son planned to follow through in attending Mizzou. We never talked much about the case, Callie said, but I remember once I asked him if he was going to that school, and he said no. I told him then that I thought it would be too dangerous, but he didn't say anything else except that he wasn't going, and I knew he wasn't. So you got two people that was close to him that said he had no plans of going. So that really adds more to the thing that he was doing it to try to be a B1, a black first race man, trying to open up the way as a pioneer. Her last contact with her son, she told Clayton, was a letter from Chicago in which she recalled him stating, "Goodbye. If you don't hear from me anymore, you know I'll be all right." Okay, I read that letter to y'all, right? So the guy also talked to his brother. He talked about, like remind him what he said to his mom. He said, "I have found that my race still likes to applaud, shake hands, pat me on the back, and say how great and noble is the idea, how historical and socially important the case. But, see, we still doing that. We still in that mode of the, oh, yeah, that's a good one. Oh, yeah, Black Lives Matter. Stay woke, y'all. I've been woken. That's what I've been doing. I've been woken." That's signifying nothing, man. Okay. Then his brother, George, the one he borrowed all that money from, he provided a reporter with insight into the financial straits that Lloyd endured. As the case dragged its way through the courts, the NAACP paid Gaines' basic expenses to attend business school at the University of Michigan, but it was George who loaned him spending money. When Clayton interviewed George a dozen years after the disappearance, the older brother still had IOUs from Lloyd totaling $500. So then I get about this back in the 30s, he gave his brother this money. So think about, if you charge him interest or whatever, think about in terms of 2021, how much that money really is. George Gaines also seemed to harbor resentment toward the NAACP. He was always riding here asking for money, George Gaines told Clayton. That organization, the NAACP or whatever it was, had him going around here making speeches. But when he got ready to go to Kansas City, I had to let him have $10 so he could get himself a white shirt. Oh, so same old stuff. Some things change. A lot of things still remain the same, right? Think about what happened this past week. Think about what we're talking about here. Gaines's NAACP attorney, Sidney Redman, further acknowledged to Clayton that his client may have felt as though they were being taken advantage of by the civil rights organization. There was a feeling, not commonly discussed, of course, that Gaines seemed to feel that he wasn't getting enough out of being used as a guinea pig and wanted more in a personal sort of way, said Redman, who described Gaines's family as being reluctant to help the NAACP locate its client. The family doesn't seem too much concerned, and never was, as I recall, continued Redmond. I tried to press them for information at the time we first got word he disappeared, but even then, they didn't seem too interested. Well, it's interesting because they didn't seem too interested until they needed him. You know, you got to think about it, he disappeared in March, and they were trying to find him months later towards the end of the year, and they found out, oh, he'd been gone. So the NACP people wasn't good, or even his lawyers was not good in keeping correspondence. It kind of like basically you see that what he was saying was the truth, that nobody really cared about his plight. They was even checking in on him or trying to give him money just to be living, man. And this guy was facing death threats and stuff. So I mean, think about what I'm saying. The only person got shot on that balcony with Dr. King was Dr. King. Nobody else got shot. Malcolm was the only one got shot on that. You know, people got hurt, but you know what I'm saying? What I'm saying is doing this type of work is a very lonely existence. It benefits the many, but the person who doing the work don't always get the benefit or live long enough to enjoy it, the fruits of the labor. So, I mean, God bless this man, wherever he is. May the righteous ancestors continue in the universe. So God continue to bless this man, because nobody cared, man. He was by himself. And he just, like I said, I'm thinking, knowing how I be, that you don't feel like you're a burden to people. That's why you be by yourself. You just stay to yourself because I don't feel like I'm a burden to people. Because think about it, man, he doing all this stuff. He put a lot of stress on his family, but they love him. They try, they know he's a good man, and they know he's doing something worthwhile, but it's like, man, he's bearing the cross by himself. He carrying that burden really by himself. It's unfortunate. Well, I guess his great niece benefited though. I have heard he had death threats against him, says Walter's granddaughter, Tracy Barrett. That's the one that's U.S. attorney. Considering the era in which this occurred, the people who made those threats probably made similar remarks to the family that could account for family not talking about it. Think about what I'm saying. This man got legitimate death threats. Because look at what he's doing with no support. You remember the NACP, Medgar Evers, before he died, he wrote the NACP national office for protection. He said, my life is in danger. I need y'all to give me some bodyguards. They wouldn't do it. And guess what happened? He kills in front of his family, right? So years later, they need his widow, Merle Evers, to save the NACP. I don't know if y'all remember, NACP was having a lot of financial and image problems back in I guess the mid 90s. And then guess who come to save the day? The widow of the man they refused to protect in life. Merle Evers saved the NACP reputation. And y'all can look that up because she became the president, I believe, at one point. But they had to apologize to her for what they did not do for Medgar. Because had they had given him protection, who knows if he would still been alive today or would live a long life, but he wouldn't have to die that night in front of his family. But and the NACP still don't have no respect, because when Charles Evers passed, the one who took his brother's place as the field secretary, the NACP had an amazing life and gave a lot to the people. The NACP did not even give him an official press release. They gave a press release, I believe, for John Lewis, but they did not even give one for Charles Evers, Medgar's brother. So this is like the disrespect that our organizations, so-called organizations and institutes, show for our trailblazers and pioneers is despicable. It's like what Dick Gregory, son, Dr. Kristen Gregory, say, there's no country for old legends, man. Now, we don't take care of our activist people, man. The people that really sacrifice a lot for us. We don't do right by these people. But yada, yada, yada. I know I just be rambling and all. Barry, who possesses the same high cheekbones and light brown skin as her great uncle Lloyd, says her grandmother referred to her brother Lloyd as dead and provided a few details about his life. It wasn't until Barry was in middle school that she unearthed the full story. Like her uncle George, a generation before her, Barry came across details of the story by chance in a news article. And remember, this was written in 2007. I don't know if she's retired by now. Now an assistant U.S. attorney in St. Louis, Barry says people naturally assume that she was inspired to become a lawyer because of Lloyd Gaines, a premise that's not entirely false. His legacy didn't so much make me want to go to law school, she says, but I think he did instill the legacy of education in our family. It's expected that you go to college. He started a fight that made it all possible. I gotta talk about this. Y'all can read more about Lloyd Gaines. I'm gonna try to get out here about 12:30 Central Time. It's a lot to read, but it's worth it. So I told you about the Supreme Court fight, right? That victory he got, 6-2 decision, U.S. Supreme Court on December 12, 1938. So this is what Missouri, the state of Missouri, want to do. In January 1939, Missouri legislators fast-tracked a bill to provide Lincoln University, that's the one in Jefferson City, it's Jefferson City, Missouri, the state capital, with $275,000. This is $275,000 back in 1939. So you could do the inflation and what that is. That's millions in today's money for the establishment of a black law school. In May of that year, the bill was signed into law, and Lincoln University went about jury rigging the now demolished Poro Beauty College in North St. Louis until its law school. Yeah, talking about a hand-me-down. The facility opened its doors September 21st, 1939, under the condemnation of some 200 protesters who formed a picket line around the Jim Crow school. A total of 30 students showed up for classes that first day. Lloyd Gaines was not among them. His NAACP attorneys planned to argue that the hastily thrown together Lincoln Law School was not equal to the University of Missouri program. In October, his lawyers began taking depositions, only to realize that Gaines hadn't been heard from in months. See, this is what I'm saying. They didn't care about this guy. He was just a guinea pig. He was just a pawn. Because how don't the lawyers don't know where this guy is? You know, he disappeared in March. He talking about in October. They trying to put all this stuff together, try to half-ass this presentation because they knew they're going to base it mostly on him. He's going to be their star witness, whatever. But they didn't give a damn. You know, that's the fall. That's October, right? And he disappeared in the wintertime. So you had spring and summer, and they ain't checking on the dude. You have March, April, May, June, July, August, September, and October. Nobody gave a damn. Make a courtesy call to his mama. Nobody. Wow. This is what I'm saying. Like, you know, so when you hear like a Samaria, Rice, and people like that talking about how they've been treated or not treated, when you think about St. Louis, you know, Dred Scott is buried in St. Louis or outside of Ferguson. He was told by Roger Taney, the U.S. Supreme Court Chief Justice, that you nor your descendants have any rights that the white man is bound to respect. This is what he meant. Lloyd Gaines had no rights that anybody, including his own people, were bound to respect, not just the white man. And so, man, it's sad, man, because this stuff is still going on. I talk about Darren King D. Seals out of Ferguson. This man was lynched. This man was assassinated. This man was shot up and burned up in his car to a crisp. And he was speaking out on stuff that y'all mad about now. This man he gave his life up for the people, man. Where's the beg for his family? If he got children, I don't know if he had children or not. I'm saying, where's the beg for his people, man? I mean, he was a real activist. And his own fellow activists didn't care for him. I mean, I'll read some of these, we call it tweets. They were wishing death on the brother, and they got what they wanted. So you don't know what happened because he exposed BLM, LLC at the beginning. The tales of two Black Lives Matter. You had the grassroots, you know, they're trying to get justice for the families, for Black people. Then you have the George Soros virtual capitalism sponsor one. Don't really care for that, but I'm just saying this is the same old, same old. Malcolm told us about these games. Message to the Grassroots, November 10th, 1963. But yeah, I'm telling you about Lloyd Gaines. In his own words, he felt betrayed, alone, hurt, all this stuff he did. Try to do right in a system that's based on wrong, you get fucked up. Trying to do right in a system based on wrong gets you fucked up. I know from experience. I think black people in general, we all know we got experiences like that, right? So they didn't give a damn. But it was his lawyer told Ebony Magazine back in the 50s, Sidney Redmond. It wasn't necessary for Gaines to be present at all hearings after we filed his petition, but we was reasonably certain that he was going all the way with the suit. We had checked him pretty close as a student and knew his attitude about such matters. You can imagine how we felt when he failed to show up after we won. Even after we won. Look, he said, look at the contradiction. He said, we had checked him pretty close as a student and knew his attitudes about such matters. It's just arrogance. If you was that close to the brother, why you know he was missing since March? People will expose themselves time and time again, man. Hiding the contradictions. Today, several of Gaines' descendants can't help but think that the NAACP took Lloyd Gaines for granted. You think? If he was truly their star client, they wonder, how could they go so long without contacting him? I just got through saying that. Yeah, it appeared to me that they used him as something of a guinea pig, said Paulette Smith Mosby, another of Gaines' great nieces in St. Louis. They used him pretty good. Yeah, they used him pretty good. Shit, we always been used as lab rats and guinea pigs. This is America. This is America. So I'm going to close up with this part right here. I think I gave y'all enough. Not this part, but I'm going to tell you like some theory of what happened to him that people might think is true. So what did become of Lloyd Gaines? The answer to that depends on whom you ask. Perhaps the most intriguing rumor comes from University City resident Sid Reedy, a 64-year-old librarian. This was written back in 2007, and member of the same Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity chapter to which Lloyd Gaines belonged. Reedy said he became fascinated by the story of Gaines in the late 1970s and ventured to Lincoln University to discuss the case with longtime instructor and civil rights leader Lorenzo Green. See, Lorenzo Green, I mentioned him earlier. That was his jegna. He was the one that put that in his brain to challenge the University of Missouri Law School. That's one of his trusted jegna. And when I say jegna, it really means mentor. But since we know what the original meaning of mentor is and what they're trying to do right now, I'm gonna go and call people like that jegnas, the people who really cared about, building people up. I'll call them jegnas. So it was Green, who passed away in 1988, who first encouraged Gaines to apply to the University of Missouri Law School. During his hour-long visit with the Lincoln professor, Reedy recalls. Now listen to what he said. Green told him of a trip he made to Mexico in the late 1940s. While there, Green claimed, he reached Gaines by telephone. The two were later to meet at a Mexico City restaurant. Gaines never showed up. The minute he picked up the phone, he said he recognized it was the voice of Lloyd Gaines, said Reedy. They talked for a while. Gaines said he had grown tired of the fight and wanted to start over. He had some business in Mexico City and apparently did well financially. Okay, but why did he pay his brother back? Why he couldn't find a way to Western Union some money to his brother, though? I don't know. That's kind of interesting. I will hope that's true, though. I want this to have a happy ending of some sort. Green's son, Lorenzo Thomas Green, confirms the story. It's written in 2007. So they said at that time he was a 54-year-old music teacher in Jefferson City. The younger Green believes his father always held out hope that Gaines would return someday. Green said his father's civil rights activism prevented him from reporting his phone call with Gaines to the authorities. Any information like that, he'd have to take to the FBI, says Green. There wasn't a lot of trust there. Y'all know we know about the FBI now, don't we? Or we should know. We should know about the FBI for Judas and the Black Messiah, though. FBI agents had already been to our house to question my mother about my father's involvement in other civil rights matters. Of course, former FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover wasn't an ally of the civil rights movement. Even if my father went to them with that information, I really don't think they would have cared. Today, Paulette Smith Mosby, prefers to accept this version of her great uncle's disappearance. I would like to think he died of old age in Mexico, said Smith Mosby. It's better than being buried in a basement somewhere, Jimmy Hoffa style. Other members of the Gaines family aren't as optimistic. They can't help but believe that Gaines was a victim of foul play. Given the battle he fought, it would surprise me that he just up and disappeared, said Gaines' nephew George. It's hard for me to believe that he went to Mexico and accepted a big payoff. That's not the same man who presented himself during the trial. I don't believe he will compromise his integrity like that. Oh, man. Tracy Berry also has a difficult time believing that her great uncle pulled a vanishing act. When you think of those old photos of lynchings and burnt bodies, who wouldn't want to think that he lived a full life in Mexico? Asked Berry. But based on the love my grandmother and great grandmother had for their brother and son, that's really hard for me to reconcile. If he wanted to walk away, there are easier ways to do it than to sever ties from the entire family. To date, the FBI remains reluctant to say when or if it will follow through on the NAACP's request to review Gaines' disappearance. Yeah, okay. I'm going to close out with this on this part. In response to a query from the Riverfront Times, FBI Supervisory Special Agent Stephen Kodak tersely replied, the FBI is aware of this referral by the NAACP, and the case will be evaluated based on its merits for a potential solution, along with other Civil Rights Code era case referrals made by our partners with the NAACP, the Southern Poverty Law Center, and the National Urban League. We currently have no other comment at this time on this matter. So there you go. No justice, no peace. Who cares? So they contacted, okay. An internal memo dated May 10th, 1940, and signed by FBI Director Hoover states that agents are conducting no investigation in connection with this matter. So Hoover said that back in May 10th, 1940. Then 30 years later in May 1970, Hoover denied a similar request from an undisclosed member of the public. Although I would like to be of assistance in connection with your letter of May 7, wrote Hoover, the case you mentioned involving Lloyd Gaines was not within the investigative jurisdiction of the FBI. Oh my God, this is horrible. This is a nightmare. Okay. Oh my God. This is horrible. I don't know what to think. Cause I'm in Tennessee. My folks from Mississippi. And I hear stories about people, they go to the grocery store, granddad went to the grocery store, uncle, whatever, and they disappeared, never came back. So my thing is, I want to believe the Mexico City story, but I think it killed him. I do. I don't think he would have just left his mom in the wind. He would have made some type of communication with somebody in his family. I think he would have paid his brother's debt some type of way. He would have got that money back to him. I don't think he would let his mama suffer like that, not knowing what happened to her son. Oh, he could have killed himself. I don't know. But then, like, how his body, but it seemed like if there was interest from the authorities to find him, they could have probably found him alive or his remains. But the fact that J. Edgar Hoover was saying in May of 1940, we're not interested in looking into this thing. But then you got to remember, too, with the Emmett Till thing, that J. Edgar Hoover and them was shamed by Dr. T.M. Howard. Do I talk about the wealthiest black man in Mississippi? He shamed them into looking into Emmett Till. Really put them on J. Edgar Hoover's enemies list because Dr. T.M. Howard, who's not talked about for whatever reason, he actually funded the first investigation into what happened to Emmett Till. He knew back then there was more than them two white boys involved in killing Emmett Till. He knew it was black people involved. And like a lot of black folks, a lot of y'all don't even know there were black folks involved in kidnapping and torturing and killing Emmett Till. They could not do that without black people helping them. But y'all look at it because like we so messed up as a people because black lives don't matter unless white folks do something to us or unless white folks say so. So we don't even care about when we kill each other and all this other stuff. I ain't talking about the black on black crime. I'm just trying to show you how much value or little value we have towards each other as a people. It's like what Lloyd Gaines figured out. They don't give a damn about me. Because why is it the lawyer told me we were close to him, but yet he been out of school looking for work? Y'all was close to him. He could have been able to come to y'all and say, look, man, I need to find employment. Or we'll help you, brother. Yeah, you could clerk for me or some shit. Could do something. They ain't give a damn. You know what I'm saying? Y'all be thinking like people don't care. Like this stuff I do. Man, look, I be struggling. I be trying to research stuff. I be mispronouncing names and shit, but I be doing hours and hours of research. I said the people got to know, because I be looking at my timeline. Why nobody don't know about Lloyd Gaines, man? We talk about this and that. We talk about some Grammys. We talk about Oscars. We talk about movies. Why we don't know about Lloyd Gaines? This stuff is sad, man. I mean, he sacrificed. You know, a lot of people were able to go to law school because of him. But you know, the first black student in Mizzou wasn't until 1950. And the first law student wasn't until like the late 1960s. To go through a black student, I'm talking about. So it's fascinating. Oh yeah, people got stories, man. I hear stories all the time. But I'm talking about he from Mississippi, but you know he was St. Louis raised. He's from Mississippi, but you know he disappeared in Chicago. Chicago's a gangster city, the city of big shoulders. So I mean, they always disappear. You'd be surprised. People disappear all the time. I mean, it's not as hard to disappear as people think. But I don't know. It might be different. I don't know. Lloyd Gaines, they had social media. Would Lloyd Gaines be able to hide in Mexico City? Might put him in a TikTok video or something on the ground. I don't know. Yeah, we are talking about him now, but I just wish, you know, he would have support where we could, you know, he could have became a lawyer, whatever, had a family. I mean, the fact that nobody checked in on him, like people act like, you know, everybody got the guilt trip. Well, you know, he liked to be alone, and the lawyer talking about, well, you know, we checked in on him. We knew what he was thinking. No, y'all didn't, because he was out of school and he don't know what type of, he at the gas station. The fact that he will quit the gas station because he saw how they were doing deceptive practices towards black people. And also he was very conscious of his name. He was a man of honor. Because if he ain't have integrity, he would never quit the gas station. He would have kept on. Or, you know, it's like he was a man that he didn't want to be a burden to people. Even though he had a burden that he was carrying on his own, he didn't want to be a burden to his family. He might have felt like he was a loser, even though he was very educated and he was doing something that was very meaningful and purposeful. But he didn't get the support he deserved. Okay. Well, why is that though? Because like, how many of us, like, I'll be honest with you, how many of us really check in on our family like that? Everybody talking about nobody checking on me, and black folks got mental illness. How many of us really checking in on our people like that though? Like I said, it's easy to go missing because people ain't looking for you. It's easy to disappear. You got folks, you got stories of people been dead for years in their apartments. I'm just trying to figure that one. How you be dead for years in your apartment, but people that we got, you know, direct deposit, they pull out the money, automatic payment to the rent people. But you got folks that have been dead in their apartments for a couple of years. Nobody thought to check in on these people. No weird smells coming out the apartment during the summertime. Yeah, it's interesting. But that's why we got to do shows like this. Like, you know, it's an interesting show. Like people, man, this stuff is depressing. It is depressing, but at the same time, I want to know rather than not to know. I'm just tired of we just so blind. We don't know what's going on, and you know, we blindsided by everything, and we just doing the same old stuff all the time. Yeah, Jacob Hoover. Yeah, panty wearing Hoover, FBI director. He didn't want to look into it, but guess what? You know, they said Hoover was passing. You know, it's a sister that did a documentary and a book about 20-something years ago. I think you can find a documentary on YouTube. But she was from Macomb, Mississippi. That's where Brandy's from. The singer Brandy is from Macomb. Her people from, I don't know if she's from. I think she was born, but her folks are from Macomb, Mississippi. And she's Snoop Dogg relative. Snoop Dogg people from Mississippi too. But she said that Hoover threatened the black Hoovers down in Macomb, Mississippi. He said, you ever tell anybody who I really am, I'll kill all y'all. And he probably meant it too, because he was a vicious bastard. I mean, even how he treated the white criminals, he lied on Pretty Boy Floyd. You know, Pretty Boy Floyd was even in Kansas City when the Kansas City massacre happened. He told everybody Pretty Boy Floyd was down there. And, Pretty Boy was a crook, but he said, I ain't no liar. He said, I'm a thief, but I ain't no liar. I wasn't down there. The boys were killing folks with not eating. They didn't care, man. If they did Pretty Boy Floyd like they did him, they shot him, they mowed him down in cold blood. They don't care about no black boy from Mississippi and trying to be uppity. They don't give a damn. But it's fascinating. Yeah, like I said, it's always an inside job. You don't know. I mean, he made a lot of powerful enemies. You got to think about he's rocking the boat. He's upsetting the apple cart. Like I said, these state schools will pay for you to go to Harvard. Like I said, University of Tennessee, they didn't want black people at the law school back in the day. So they were sending folks to Harvard University, full tuition, paid. State taxpayers' money. Yeah. Yeah, so we got the sex farms. Look at the movie Goodbye Uncle Tom. Some may call it Farewell Uncle Tom, but also called Goodbye Uncle Tom. They talks about the realities of what happened to us during slavery based on primary sources like journals and newspaper articles and stuff like that. And he had a place like in Virginia and Maryland, they had sex farms where they was like having dudes screwing their mama and sister and aunts. Like get the term motherfucker. So this stuff is real. Our people, man, we all just kissing cousins. I agree with that. But I think that's enough. I don't know what else to say. But y'all need to look up Lloyd Gaines. And I guess before I go, let me find something. Just to give it some closure, I guess. Thank y'all for being patient. Thank y'all for the donations. Thank you, brother Ladarius, for your donation. You said I should have 250,000 plus YouTube subs, but we all know why that is. I'm being shadow banned. I mean, because it's weird because I go outside, people like they know what I'm doing. Oh, you brother Ron, and I like this show, and I said, dang, y'all be looking at this show. I look at my YouTube numbers, like I'm starving over here. But yeah, they don't want me to. That's how it be, man. Like I said, you choose a path, and I love my people, and I want to tell the truth. Thank you for the double love, Ladarius. Thank you, brother Ronaldo, Kristen Diggs, Ladarius Butler, everybody, and Josh, brother Josh. Thank you, boy. You really sending Tammy, Cooper, Edwin, Iris, King BJ. Shout out to you, Sheila, Michael, Sister Tierra, my Taurus sister. Thank you so much, Steve Mayfield, Mira. I mean, I appreciate y'all for really looking out for me. Like I said, people just texting me or emailing me, y'all sending me information. I know every time I don't really respond that much. I'm sorry about that. I'm gonna do better. I might have to take some drugs to do better. I don't know, but it is cool that I know I could be of service to y'all and that y'all appreciate this information. I'm really surprised that people actually do be listening to some of the stuff. I mean, y'all be writing me. So you said this and that, and y'all look it up, and yeah, you were right. And, I was like, well, I guess I'm living my purpose, man. But I do a lot of other stuff as well. But like I be waking up in the morning, man, it be stuff in my mind. Like I be remembering all these anniversaries. Like I can't do all these shows or all these anniversaries, but they say, brother Ron, just keep on in your way, tell our stories. So even with the Antoinette Frank thing, I got the brother name wrong. I said Lucchese, but I don't know. Like you getting the French stuff, you don't know how to pronounce these names. It's weird. It looks like it's John, but it's Young, like the Dutch. But by me even getting him wrong, start looking the stuff up, this brother may have been railroaded. And so I'm gonna see what I can do a show about the Antoinette Frank and Roger Lacaze. Saying Lacaze, yeah. Because they saying that her brother was the one who killed those people at the restaurant. I don't know. Oh, damn, TR, you too kind. you feeling we love you madly, Sister Tierra. I appreciate it. But I'm looking to that for y'all. It's so many cases, man. My thing is, if I don't have any children, but if I had some, or even I don't have none, I want to leave something behind for the people. I don't know what will survive after me, but if I could leave something behind that could be of use to people, that's what I want to do. Cause I know I hurt some people along the way. I'm a human. I hurt people. I disappointed people, including myself, but if I could do some good and whatever I have done, if it could be of use to y'all, and y'all gonna, I have people call me or tell me that, hey, my professor used your videos and this stuff in our curriculum, or somebody would tell me like, your videos on Dr. King assassination helped my daughter put together her project for Dr. King project for school, for elementary. And I was like, wow, you just never know, who's watching and listening. So I'm very grateful and thankful for the honor of being able to do that. But let me see. Let me find something. Y'all could do something about it. Share this with people and let's look them up. And there's a lot of information out there about Mr. Gaines. And like I said, I'll try to do a show. I want to go back to traveling, so I got something I'm gonna do for the summer. I'll let y'all know about it. Somebody said their son is spitting the image of Lloyd Gaines, his brother Nathaniel. Okay. And we are our ancestors, though. See, I think is we don't really die, we come back. That's what I believe. Maybe I could be wrong. I don't know, but I don't believe we all just die. We are our ancestors, man. We coming back because I'm doing work now that I'm finding that my ancestors did before me, like my ancestor Julian Mayfield, right? I tell you about him. I'm gonna do a show about him. Him and his wife. His first wife was amazing. His first wife was a doctor from Puerto Rico. When Maya Angelou's son broke his neck in Ghana, she saved his life. She actually saved him from being paralyzed. That's my cousin Julian Mayfield's first wife. I'm gonna talk about her. Bring some experts on to talk about both of them. Amazing. And I can't believe I didn't know. I wish I knew about him growing up, but everything happened for a reason. But we all got amazing Black folks in our family. We all amazing. Y'all need to do. I would encourage y'all to do ancestry.com. Like my mom, she's really big into that. And also talk to the people in your family, like the elders, record them, document them, and do it for the family, because we don't even know who we are. And if we know who we are, we can make a better case for reparations. We can make a stronger case for reparations, because what they did to Lloyd Gaines, that should be a part of our reparations case. Just look at the history. This man was killed, possibly kidnapped and killed because he was trying to do right for Black people. And you take away our leaders, and you take away our, we got to start making these cases, man, because it's a different spirit now, because we keep on doing the same stuff. I don't want to, we shouldn't be facing the same stuff 30 years from now in terms of police terrorism and all this bullshit and how we've been treated as third-class citizens. This stuff got to stop. It's ridiculous. Our people pay too much of a price for us to allow ourselves to keep on getting treated like this. I'm going to go right quick, but I'm going to share this picture. I'm getting out of here. Yeah, like I said, sometimes I don't think I don't feel like I want to talk, but then I can't shut the hell up. And y'all encourage me to keep on talking. So maybe doing some good. Y'all, we love you madly. I don't know. It's crazy. This is a picture I did almost 10 years ago. This guy I'm pointing at right now, that's Dean McLeod. He was my Jegna at Wash U. He was my guardian angel. He passed away from cancer back in 2011. September 2011 will be 10 years ago this year. He actually passed away on the same week of the opening of my art show, The Most Known Unknown. I named out the 3 6 Mafia's album that came out when they won, when they won the Oscar for Hustle and Flow. But they had an album that come out not too long after called The Most Known Unknown. And it's talking about how you have so much influence in the culture, but people don't really know who you are. You're not a household name, but your influence is felt. And that's how I feel like coming out of Memphis and being who I am, because a lot of people I ain't gonna say be stealing my swagger, but I have done a lot of things over my years of doing this work that I see people incorporate into their own little thing. But imitation is a form of flattery. So this Dean McLeod, he passed away, son of Alabama, son of a preacher man, very brilliant man. Went to Morehouse when he was like 15 years old. Very smart guy, good at expert in German culture and stuff. That's him. This is his Jegna, Dr. John B. Irvin. He was the namesake of the scholarship I got to WashU. The full ride I got to WashU was called John B. Irvin. It's called the John B. Irvin Scholarship. So John B. Irvin was the jegna to Dean McLeod. He was the first black dean at Washington University in St. Louis. And Dean McLeod was like the number 2 most powerful man on campus. He was the vice chancellor and dean of students. So, a lot of, if you ever go to WashU today, how it's built up today, all these amazing, technology and buildings, it's because of his vision. And he was able to get the resources and money. So this guy is the first black law student, or first black graduate, I think, of Washington University. He was a law student. Let me look up his name. Man. Look up his name. First black graduate. He actually became a lawyer. I think he graduated from a law school. Let me see. I get it right. In St. Louis. St. Louis is one of my favorite places. It's got a lot of black history there. A lot of things like, their song Frankie and Johnny. And when Frankie shot Johnny, that's actually based on an incident that happened in St. Louis back in 1899. As a matter of fact, the lady lived long enough for the song become a big hit, and even made a movie about it. And she actually was suing people because he said there was copyright infringement. It's a true story. Just look up the real story about Frankie and Johnny. But she lived long enough, and that's her association with that song drove her crazy. I think she died in a mental institution up in Washington State. I'm not really sure, but she took to the court, tried to get her money, but they wouldn't give her no money for it, even though it was based on her incident where she killed her boyfriend and pimp. A guy named Alan Britnum or something like that. He's buried in St. Louis. That happened back in 1899. Then you hear the story of Stagger Lee. He's actually a real person. He's buried in St. Louis. I believe Stagger Lee was a pimp from Memphis, though. Memphis, we known for our pimp preachers and lawyers. But there's neither here or there. But I might do a folk song or folk history about black people, man, because some of the stuff you think is make-believe is actual real stuff. His name ain't popping up for some reason. I don't know why they first black student. And also there's some other people in the picture on my name. I think the pointer is working. Okay. Like this dude at the top, that's Henry Hampton Jr. His father was the top surgeon and director of Homer G. Phillips Hospital in St. Louis. He was the chief surgeon. And Henry Hampton went to WashU too, class of 1960. His father wanted him to be a surgeon, but he ended up being a documentary filmmaker. What happened to him was that he went down to Selma and met with Dr. King and became inspired by the movement. And he wanted to say, we need to document our story and tell it from our perspective. So he is the creator of what is now known as the Eyes on the Prize documentary series, award-winning Eyes on the Prize documentary series. Their footage is the footage. They the one that interviewed and recorded William O'Neill, the FBI agent provocateur. That came from his footage from Eyes on the Prize. And he passed away back in 1998, but at the time of his death, his film production company, Blackside, I think Blackside Production, was one of the largest, I think it was the largest black-owned film company in the world. He did that great Malcolm X documentary, Make It Plain, and some other things. But my jegna, Dean McLeod, was able to get his work at the, and made it the Henry Hampton collection at WashU. So you can actually go online and access the Eyes on the Prize, like the video footage, the transcripts, all that is available at the website, courtesy of Dean McLeod, winning the bid to get his work to WashU as part of the permanent collection. So this is Lloyd Gaines. This is my representation of Lloyd Gaines. You know about him. We talked about him. This is Homer G. Phillips, namesake of the hospital. He was a lawyer in St. Louis. he made sure the city gave $1 million to build a up-to-date hospital for black people, because they didn't want to let black people go to the same hospital as the white folks. So Homer G. Phillips, who went to Howard University, he used to be a boarder at the home of the great poet Paul Laurence Dunbar. He was staying with Paul Laurence Dunbar while he was going to Howard University. They came back to St. Louis. He's a son of misery, and he took on the city to set aside $1 million to build a state-of-the-art, hospital for black people. But unfortunately, he was assassinated back in 1931. He was waiting for his trolley car, and these two black men, they beat him up and shot him. So, there's a lot of conspiracy behind it. Nobody ever went to prison for killing Homer G. Phillips. They decided to name City Hospital number 2 after him. And at one point, Homer G. Phillips trained more black nurses and doctors than any place in the world. They trained more black doctors and nurses than any place in the world at one point. And one of the people that got trained there was the guy I talked about from Mississippi, Dr. T.I.M. Howard. Y'all look him up. He was trained at Homer G. Phillips, but also the guy who created Owls on the Prize, that his father was the chief surgeon and director at Homer G. Phillips for years. And then you got this guy, I call him Big Meacham, Reverend Meacham. I think his name is Meacham. Let me look him up. I bring him up. I mean, it's a theme here about education, right? Let me look him up. Get his name right. Put some respect on his name. Okay, John Barry Meacham. That's his name, Reverend John Barry Meacham. Call him Big Meach. Okay, he had a big head. He had a prominent forehead. Let's look him up. But he did a thing called the Freedom School. He had his Freedom School like on a showboat on the river, because in Missouri you couldn't teach black folks, you couldn't educate black folks. So he made sure he created a Freedom School that was a boat on the Mississippi River. So they couldn't say, it was illegal for him to teach black folks how to read and write, because he was not in the state of misery. He was outside the state of misery on the Mississippi River. So, like you see the theme of education running through what I'm talking about. On a steamboat, on the Mississippi River. He actually died like 6 or 7 years before the Civil War started. And this is before the Dred Scott decision. So, I mean, he was ahead of the curve, but, education was very important to black people. People, started steamboat freedom schools. People disappeared for it, all types of stuff. So I'm still trying to find a dude for WashU, right? First black student. Like they're trying to hide him. I know I could find him. No problem. But anyway, I don't want to keep y'all too long, but yeah, I'll be doing some more stories like this, but I didn't see too much out there in the black land social media about a lot of our righteous ancestors that should be. Walter Moran, that's his name. Walter Moran Farmer. That's the guy. Walter Moran, the guy right here, Walter Moran Farmer. That's the first black graduate. That's my representation, the first black graduate at Washington University in St. Louis. And he was interesting. He actually received a law degree and became one of the first black lawyers to practice before the Missouri and U.S. Supreme Courts, respectively. So he was WashU class of 1889. Walter Moran Farmer. And became one of the first black people in the country. I mean, practiced before the Missouri and U.S. Supreme Court. Okay. Got to know our history. So I call this piece the Brotherhood. I call it the Brotherhood. So out of all these people, I knew one of them, D. McLeod, made an righteous ancestors and universal soul, God be pleased. So I guess that's it. The Brotherhood. And it's on my website, r2c2hu.com. You go buy. It's available for purchase. But anyway. Okay, thank y'all for tolerating me. Going hard, huh? I ain't going hard enough, actually. I'm kind of underachieving. I feel like I'm underwhelming I'm not pushing hard enough, but we'll see over the next couple of weeks. I'm gonna put out more content. I got a lot on my mind, but yeah. Well, we got to tell our stories, man. There's no excuse why we're waiting for white folks to approve of a story for us to tell. You know what I'm saying? We got too many stories out here that need to be more amplified and by any means necessary. So well, we can't broadcast everything on social media. Like I tell people all the time, our problems ain't gonna be solved on YouTube, or on Facebook, on Instagram, or Twitter. That is just to stay connected. But the work that need to be done will be done off camera. That's still true in 2021. The problem is we want to show everything to everybody. You know, we too busy trying to get approval from everybody except ourselves on our terms. Yeah, I heard about that. I haven't yet seen it, but I'm a big fan of documentaries. But I heard about the Homer G. Phillips documentary. It need to be seen because my thing, I was more interested about the man who was Homer G. Phillips. Like a lot of people just say, "Oh, yeah, that's Homer G. Phillips Hospital." You know, I said, "But y'all know who the man?" It's like people go to school. It's like we got a school in South Memphis called Hamilton High School. My mama never went to that school, but they never knew who Hamilton was. They probably thought it was Alexander Hamilton. It was a black man, a prominent educator here named G.P. Hamilton. He was a prominent historian of Memphis history, but that's another story. But like a lot of times, even when I used to substitute teach at Booker T. Washington High School, a lot of them students didn't know who Booker T. Washington was, but that Booker T. Washington High School, I know there's a lot of Booker T. Washington High Schools throughout the country. That one produced Maurice White, the founder of Earth, Wind, and Fire. That's in South Memphis. That's like not that far away from me, down the street, basically. They produced Maurice White from Earth, Wind, and Fire, and also the mother of gospel music, Lucy Campbell, taught there for decades. She trained Mahalia Jackson and Marian Anderson, and then she discovered Dr. King's favorite singer, who was not Mahalia Jackson, but a black dude from South Memphis named J. Robert Bradley, who passed away in Nashville around 2007, 2008. So. Yeah, he was a real person. Stagger Lee was a pimp from Memphis, man. That's my understanding. He buried in St. Louis. But I'm saying so much of our history, like John Henry was a real person. People think John Henry was a big man. John Henry was a small dude. He was a strong, small dude. John Henry's real. He's not, a lot of our history, like I said, if you look at black history, it's like they talk about the Avengers and DC Universe, Justice League. Our people are superheroes and she-roos. We got some amazing people in our history, man. We got amazing history. We just don't promote it like we should. Yeah, I mean, we don't have to go to Africa, but the thing about it is America is Africa. You know what I'm saying? Like, like y'all remember what's his name? Bobby Hemmett. I don't know what happened to that, bro. You talking about somebody disappeared. I don't know what happened to Bobby Hemmett, but he was a trailblazer and a pioneer. He talking about how out west there was a Memphis. It was a Memphis out west. I know I'm in Memphis, Tennessee, but out west, further out west, there's a Memphis. I think he heard something like that there was a Memphis in America before this Memphis. But then you got to think about the white folks. They all Freemasons. They came out of Africa. We think everything we do is evil. We think it's evil. Blues and rock and roll. Anything. We created a civilization. So it's not about being evil. To me, evil is very subjective when you deal with certain things in our society. It's about what you do with what you got and who you're doing it for. Like John Brown said before he died, if I was fighting on the interests of white people with money, I'll be a hero. But since I'm fighting and advocating for the enslaved black man and woman and child, I'm a villain. I'm a terrorist. I'm a monster. Then now we know it was a black woman that was financing it. His thing, his rated Harper's Ferry was a black woman. And that story needs to be told. Because this was a black woman that could pass for white, but she chose to be black. See, the Meghan Markle stuff, she's not black to me. Kamala is not black. But when you can pass and choose to be black, you black. Like I talk about Freddie Washington. who played in the first Imitation Life. She was a black woman. She could pass for white. She said, I love being black. Why won't I be anything else but black? See, a lot of people that hate themselves. Yeah, Rudy Ray Moore. I told y'all Ray Moore is from Fort Smith, Arkansas. That was, guess who was in Fort Smith, Arkansas back in the day? Bass Reeves, the Lone Ranger. That was Indian territory. He was seeing the hanging judge, Isaac Parker, whatever. He was sending all them fugitives back to Fort Smith, Arkansas. So Rudy Ray Moore is from Fort Smith, Arkansas. Home of the Lone Ranger, the real one, Bass Reeves. He been out for a while though. Blessings to that brother, but he did his God work though. Yeah, like yeah, you got to choose. It's an attitude. It's like white is an attitude, because a lot of folks that look like us, that if you a black person, well, black, Aboriginal, whatever you want to call yourself, they ain't for us. You gotta have a certain mindset. Like I said, be one now. Yeah, we the indigenous to the world, man. It's not just here. We've been everywhere. We all over the place. I appreciate it. I'm glad y'all ready to receive. I'm about to check out of here. Thank y'all. I'm glad. Hey, and that's a good thing. You probably learn something new every day. Because like Harry Truman said, only thing new is the history that you don't know. So we should be open to learning. Cause I learn stuff all the time. Cause I stay open. But also you can't be afraid to have your own opinion or point of view on things. Cause a lot of times you're gonna be by yourself when you're doing the right thing. You look at, I talk about Lloyd Gaines tonight. He was by himself, man. Yeah, he had a mama that loved him, but they didn't understand what the hell he was going through. You know what I'm saying? Like he's a pioneer. And sometimes when you like that, you're gonna have lonely times. And that's why I tell people always tell me, well, I feel like I'm by myself. I say, if you're doing the right thing, a lot of times you're gonna be by yourself doing the right thing. Like I said, the only person that got shot on that balcony was Dr. King. Nobody else got shot. So he had to die alone. You understand? Okay. Yeah, the real Lone Ranger with Bass Reeves, man. That story need to be told. They did a movie on Bass Reeves, man, but the audio, I mean, it probably be a well done production. It looked nice. I couldn't hear what they were saying because the audio, man, it was on Amazon Prime, but I couldn't hear hardly anything. Yeah, I painted that picture about 10 years ago. I paint all these pictures. I wear my art, so you go to. Yeah, I do all that. I be trying to showcase. I need to do a better job of talking about my artwork, but I need to do more with the art. So that's my Thelonious Monk shirt. Did Monk is around midnight, or past midnight. So if y'all like the words from Brother Herb, please spread the word. You could subscribe to We All Be TV. And hope we get to 100,000 subscribers this year. I know I probably been supposed to have 100,000, but like I said, shadow ban. It's a lifestyle. So, you could cash out your support, $ R2C2H2. You can PayPal, Google Pay, Zelle at R2C2H2 @gmail.com. You could Vimo at R2C2H2. You can wear art of his art. You see that Teespring shelf below. And thank y'all for buying the shirts and stuff and for donating. We love you madly. I'm just trying to figure out different ways to express myself, to keep myself from going crazy, insane. Because crazy is on the spectrum though. Everybody's a little bit off, but it's different being off and being awful. Yeah, the Watchmen. Yeah, they did a great job of referencing Bass Reeves. Yeah, it ain't always the easiest choice to make. I don't think, but that's a good thing, man. Because they ain't a shame, man. It tells me a lot when a person chooses to be black, when it could be more advantageous to be white. It was a guy, a preacher prodigy named Lawrence Dennis. He was one of the most well-known American fascists. He actually met with Hitler a couple of times. He was a well-respected American fascist, but towards the end, it came out he was a black man. And the brilliant Gerald Horn. I got to have Dr. Gerald Horn on here as well. I got to bring him on. brilliant professor down in Houston. He did a book about Lawrence Dennis. I think his name is Lawrence Dennis. By the time he died, he embraced his blackness. Because at first nobody could tell he was it's kind of like almost like the Dave Chappelle skit about the Black Klansman. But here's a guy who was American fascist meeting with the top leadership of the Nazi party during the 30s and stuff like that. And nobody knew that he was a black man all that time. And then towards the end, he was exposed as being a black man. He fell out of favor, And so they said by the time he died, he had a afro. So it was a dude that was passing most of all his life. By the time he died, he embraced his blackness while he was disgraced, and he died with an afro. I think it's Lawrence Dennis. Yep. I'm gonna show y'all the book too. See how it's available. And Gerald Horne is a brilliant author and professor. Just brilliant. If y'all ever heard of him, then I'm gonna get out of here. Lawrence Dennis. He's actually from Atlanta, but he was a child preacher like Al Sharpton. He's a charlatan. So I'll find a good picture of him. Gerald Horne's book. I'll get Gerald Horne on here, man. Gerald Horne is from St. Louis too. He's brilliant. I don't know, y'all Google Gerald Horne. Let's see. Find that. This is what I'm talking about, The Color of Fascism. It's about Lawrence Dennis, and Gerald Horne wrote it. Racial Passing and the Rise of Right-Wing Extremism in the United States. This is a black man. That's a black man. The Color of Fascism. He was one of the top fascists, one of the top right-wing extremists in the country. Like I said, he met with the Nazi party. I think he met with Hitler a couple of times. He was impressed by Lawrence Dennis. Didn't realize he was a black man, though. Let's see. And there's Lawrence Dennis as a little boy. I think that's Lawrence Dennis. Let me see. I think that's Lawrence Dennis. He was a preacher prodigy from Georgia. I think he's from Atlanta. But I say Black history is stranger than science fiction, man. Stranger than science fiction. It's weird, man. I'll show that picture again. Now that's him as a little kid. It's funny because you look at pictures like of Harry Truman and Franklin Roosevelt. They always dressed like this, so to speak. Like they moms wanted them to be women or something. So this is not nothing new to 2021. I think Harry Truman mama wanted him to be a girl, so dress him like a girl. You look at baby pictures of Harry Truman and Franklin Roosevelt. So this is nothing new. We think this is new. This is some weird gender bender stuff. But Lawrence Dennis was an interesting guy. But anyway, I think that's it. Thank y'all so much for letting me steal 3 hours of your time. So thank y'all. In the words of Duke Ellington, we love you madly. Y'all keep on producing and pushing. Yeah, Plessy was white. You could Plessy from Plessy v. Ferguson. He was very white. So I mean, it's interesting. They chose to be black. But thank y'all, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, check out Dick Gregory. He's still around. Some Dick Gregory news coming soon. Love y'all. Y'all take care. One love. And the best is yet to come.